from 2021 onward, like SI plus both majors, OXG's run back at SI from last year was still something that exceeded expectations to a pretty insane degree. And the Sweden major, yeah, was a bit of a wash, but hey, I'm looking at this hoping that they'll be able to pull something back.
Here's our veto. Ban, pick, ban, decider. Jesse.
Well, we're starting off with a ban from Team 1 onto Clubhouse. This one makes a ton of sense. Team 1, they don't like this map. They avoid it as much as possible. OXG going for the Chalet is a bit of an odd one. I thought there were some options for them there, but I don't hate it, banning out the Chalet. It's one that they have tried to play a bit, but unfortunately hasn't been the most successful. Coastline is a interesting pick from Team 1. It's not bad. Certainly Team 1 liked their coast, but I just feel like for Oxygen, I mean, they're undefeated on this map for the entire year, save one game against the Sonics in the NA Finals. They brought it back for Na'Vi first day of SI and cleaned it up 7-1. That one's a question mark for me. Oregon makes loads of sense. That's what I predicted Oxygen to pick, and I think it'll be a very comfy map for them.
Bank is one that OXG have played, I believe, only twice over the past 9 months or so, and they've lost it twice. And it's a really good map for Team 1 by comparison because they've at least won it a couple of times. So if we need to go to a decider, I think 1 probably has an advantage, but both of these maps are ones I do still think OXG have a pretty good chance of just taking the entire series 2-0. It feels like something that Team 1 have done a couple of times throughout this tournament. In this group stage, they've picked some maps that their opponents also seem to favor at least somewhat heavily, and then if they need to get to a third map, that's where they're like, okay, that's our trump card. That's where we know we can secure the series for ourselves, but they haven't been able to get to a third map in the majority of the series that they've played, and OXG is a pretty darn tough opponent with a plethora of maps at their disposal. I'm concerned for Team 1 from this ban phase because I just don't know if they have the tenacity to get all the way to map number 3.
I say OXG's scary team coming into this event, finally all together playing as well. Might as well be the best NA team at this tournament. Who knows?
Maybe.
I mean, TSM's still here, but I do think they're looking great.
It's looking pretty hot. We're going to have to see what happens here between them. That's OXG versus Team 1. But on the other side, like we said, Na'Vi versus MIBR is happening at the same time. So let's kick both games off and get this day 4 on the road. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Milos. It's a pleasure to be here once again on the Bravo stream as we get ready to dive deep into our first matchup of the day here, and bound to be an interesting one as well. We've got OXG up against Team 1. I think we're in for a fairly explosive matchup. The maps, however, in my opinion, favoring OXG quite heavily here, so Team 1 has got their work cut out for them. Stokes, let's get your thoughts on this.
I have to absolutely agree with you and the desk. I mean, first things first, there's way too many people to argue against, and secondly, I would be wrong in doing so. I think that this is Oxygen series to lose just based off of the maps, but as we know, Team 1, they can throw a wrench into a lot of plans, man.
Absolutely the case, and even if you look at kind of the relative performance both of these teams had against Na'Vi, things look pretty okay at the moment here for Oxygen as well. Now, obviously, both teams did have a bit of a fall-off when they went up and played against Damwon Gaming. Oxygen specifically, as we saw yesterday there, and quite the fall-off indeed there. For instance, Oxygen obviously blowing the 4-round lead was not great that they had at the end of one of their maps in that series, and only one defensive round on Oregon, which obviously we're going to see again in this series here, does lead them into a bit of an awkward situation and definitely leave some holes where we could see Team 1 able to pierce through it and find a victory from this series as well. But with their own struggles to work on, it's going to be a tough one indeed. Very excited to get into this series. We've got a lot of explosive players. Alamau jumping into this one is certainly going to be one to watch as he's been leading the team forward, as one would expect for Team 1 throughout most of this event.
Absolutely, my friend, but we do not have to wait much longer to discover what is going to go on in this series, folks. We are moments away from Coastline as the map launches and the ban phase starts off. Let's see what Team 1 want to pull away from Coastline. Just as a reminder, just as Blue was talking about, Oxygen up against Damwon Gaming Kia 0-2 yesterday, and Vertical and Kino not too hot to trot. We're looking for them to step up today in a huge way to take it to Team 1.
We're talking about the differences, of course, in their games versus Na'Vi. That was one big difference right there. Both those players a massive presence inside of that, and unfortunately versus Damwon fell off in a big way, so we're going to need to see who else might be able to step up. Will it be those two? Will it be other members of the team? We'll talk about that in a bit. So we got bans in front of us here, and for the most part making perfect sense as far as a Coastline map is concerned. Thatcher followed up by Lion. These are two very popular bans to knock out here. Thatcher universally so, Lion more so for the specific map, so it makes sense. And then we move over to Valkyrie, and again, start to see things No surprises, pretty much.
No surprises at all. We'll get this last defender out of the way. Get Malusi out of here. We don't want to see her, so should be a little bit easier for these teams to get in towards side. Really like the Lion ban here as well from Oxygen, just making sure that Team 1 can't limit them on their movement when they're going for executes or trying to clear the map. And as we know, for the defensive side of Coastline, that's not exactly fun. It's a big donut. It's very easy to get in towards the map and really put some pressure on these defenders from the outside of the building, on window repels and things like that. So folks, we are into the first pick phase here, and we will see exactly what Team 1 want to start us off on for their defensive half.
Yep, some popular picks still going to be left in the pool, though, outside of the bans. Finka, most notably, which has started to become a fairly popular ban here, especially with the prevalence of nade kills more than anything on top of just the general usefulness of her ability. And actually, an interesting pick coming out from LXG right from the get-go there. We're going to see another team start to incorporate Osa into their lineup here as they'll go directly towards it on a 6 pick in their first round.
This is one of the maps we have been seeing Osa picked on a decent bit. Also, just as a reminder, we saw Oxygen, I believe Yaga, actually running Blackbeard a couple of days ago as well, so we could see that come out later on. They will be starting off on the offensive side, obviously, since we already talked about Team 1 on the defense. But yeah, we should be seeing Oxygen probably rotate these operators around just a little bit. I really like the lineup that they're bringing right now. Obviously, they don't need any hard breach when it comes to Coastline. This is a map that is very unique in the way that you can play it, although it has been updated recently with VIP, especially in these 2 walls over here that we're seeing being reinforced now. That used to be a window, so maybe some hard breach could be necessary later on if Team 1 are sticking to their guns and Oxygen want access to that room. But as of right now, they don't really have too much to worry about, especially with Fox in the way that he can use that shield to kind of walk around the map and defend himself, get some info, and also just put some pressure on those defenders.
It's usually just a matter of convenience more than anything when hard breach is brought to the table. Although on Hookah, you can see the billiards wall being of some use to be able to knock out there as well and allow attackers to get better access to the site. But aside from that, as Stokes was mentioning, not a whole lot of usefulness for hard breachers on this map, especially when you compare it to some of the others in the pool here. Well into the round now, with about 30 seconds already gone by. And obviously, as you guys might expect here, not a whole lot happening inside of that first 30 seconds. Just emphasis on the drone game from Oxygen here. They're going to try to figure out what this extended setup up to the second floor looks like, more particularly here for Team 1.
Laxing and Foxay on the Cardigan gang as well today here. They're looking real comfy inside of this first game, so hopefully it's making them feel a little bit more at home in Sweden. Team 1 already having to deal with some pressure here on the hookah window. They'll get rid of the Alibi clone, and also Laxing starting to make some verticality downstairs into the Sunrise bar. This is going to make it to where Lagonas can't play around that space. Team 1 will hold on to the top floor as long as possible. Also Alamau, the star player as of right now. What the hell is going on? Foxy's planning right now. Oh, run out. Alamau finally able to land a shot on the vertical, but Foxy's already got the plant down. This is looking like OXG all the way to the hilt.
Levy moving back in. He's going to be able to quickly trade on to Yaga. This round is certainly not over yet. Foxay trying to quickly set up the post-plant shields here with the OC utility, and it'll work out well as now he can maintain a consistent position here over by the pool entry. Loses the extended shield, though, so can now only play over behind the one in the doorway. Levy as well trying to catch players outside, but they'll quickly realize on that Levy also incredibly low here. Foxay's finally grabbed another player, and now Alamo trying to get aggressive again. Finally gets caught this time by Laxing. Levy from the big window will catch an exchange, but he's going to go outside again to quickly hop back in and get onto the case. Oxygen will realize that, start to counter it up, but Foxay it's not a clean kill so much. He's going to start to mess around with him here a bit, just to waste the time down so it's under 7 seconds more than anything. But on top of that, he'll get the kill as well. Round 1 goes to OXG.
All smiles from the Oxygen bench, and why wouldn't you? You planted inside of the first minute and a half. That really doesn't happen inside of Rainbow Six, but with a map like Coastline, we're looking for these site-centric plays early on. We want them to be punchy, we want them to be powerful. An upswing here from Oxygen with that Osa proves to be quite the shot here towards Team 1. Not even over the bow, just directly into the side of that ship. So Team 1, they're going to have to pay attention to their site because there might be some Oxygen members in it early.
Absolutely the case. So a smooth first round from Oxygen Team 1, trying to get aggressive, specifically Alamau, and especially Levy there towards the end of it, trying to get themselves out into the open and trying to take more aggressive duels, but unfortunately to line pretty much exactly with the execute time for Oxygen, so they ended up leaving the site relatively bare and made the plant a fairly straightforward affair post-plant as well. Didn't see too much trouble for OXG to set that up, so things went out without too much of an issue there, despite the fact that we did end up in a fairly close 3v3 at one point in the round.
Well, it does look like it's just about time to have a conversation about Osa. We don't get to talk about about her too much. She is the newest operator into the competitive lineup. As you guys had seen just before in that previous round, she does have those shield that she can set up, kind of like a deployable shield, but for offense. Her big downfall, though, is the animation that you have to go through to set the shield up. It's pretty easy to shoot past it while she's doing so. You can catch her shoulder and deal some serious damage and or kill her. The reason that round goes off so well for Oxygen is because Foxe is not pressured while setting up everything inside of the site. He's already got things down. He already has the plant. They have everything covered, especially with Laxing upstairs, getting that early info onto the Sunrise bar. Team 1 have no idea what's going on at the moment. It's very well done there. So we should continue to see Foxe setting these Osa shields up in a pretty strong way, just not seeing him try to set them up around Team 1 members when they're aware of his positioning.
Neskin is going to get caught out by a quick drone to the inside of Office. You can see plenty other members of the OXG roster starting to scout early on here as well, as we're still only in those opening few seconds of the round, so not a whole lot of aggression for OXG needing to be brought into the map just as of yet here. Still, for the most part, looking for a safe path forward and trying to see if maybe any of these members of Team 1 are going to be a bit more vulnerable and could become open to nade kills or just being drained out of their position. Quite obviously, we're in the meta with quite a bit of utility clear right now, and this round is going to be no exception with 4 frag grenades brought. Also 4 smokes here for OXG, so quite a bit of execute capability going to come out from behind that as well. And we can already see them kind of building towards that over here at the Aqua doorway. Quite a few members already building up towards that, or at least nearby, available to support it if they'd like to go for something this early.
Very well done from Yaga there on the clear as well. Chooses to go in 6 initially to see if there's anything around that shield, otherwise it would just be blown sky high. Obviously gets caught by a disc, but then just chucks the uncooked nade there, just trying to get rid of some of the positions that Team 1 could possibly play around, especially for this hookah position that they have right now. They're going to need some ADSs to stop Vertical from blowing this man up, and they'll have one to be able to save his life for the moment, but no deployable shield there to be able to keep Kaid alive any longer if they do start to pressure here in towards hookah. And yet again, we're going to have an Osa plan. He's going to extend this. This is beautifully done so far from Oxygen, although KDS has fought back against Vertical and found the frag.
They know what the play is here now, especially with the Osa shields going down, but the trade has been made by Laxing onto KDS, catching him in response and evening us back out here. Still going to be some trouble from down below, although I don't know if they're going to be able to put direct pressure against the play coming in from Aqua anytime soon here. Levy now going to be trying to resist the plant should it come in again anytime soon here, but for the time being, OXG taking a step back here, analyzing their options and trying to see if a member of Team 1 will make a mistake, allowing them to get another kill forward before they move in, and that'll be it. But unfortunately, don't account for the swing from Levy, so he immediately exchanges out the pickup from Kino, and we stay even at a 3v3, now with under 1 minute remaining.
Levy with the keys to the castle here when it comes to the Osa shield as well. He was able to destroy the initial one, but now Foxe planting behind it. Laxing not able to hit the flick onto the smoke. That would have been very clean if he was able to achieve that, but going to force him back off the shield yet again here. Look at Oxygen managing their time so very well. Yaga's got the cutoff here for VIP. Hey, you can't challenge Laxing like that, Neskin. It's just not going to work out for you. Foxe putting this plant down yet again, and there's no utility in order to do so. They still have the impact from Levy, but Levy, he's off pushing daisies. He really doesn't know what's going on right now over the other side. He'll be able to get the shot on the Laxing, but Yaga still has that cross inside of VIP. It's 2 rounds for Oxygen.
Levy trying his heart out to get something done here from behind that mini bar inside and behind the chassis, but still only able to leverage himself to, I believe, those 2 kills over the course of the round. Unfortunately, no one else finding significant pickups, especially the back anchors closer towards hookah. So it's another fairly clean push from Oxygen. And as you said, great time management, great draining of the defensive utility, specifically those toxic babes from the defensive smoke, allowing for them to plant with a good excess of about 30 seconds or so left, I think, by the time it was put down onto the ground.
Look at the safety net that Oxygen are also putting around Foxe here. You can see him always managing these OSHA shields to make sure that someone is there to secure that whilst it's going down. Because again, that is the most damaging state of that shield. When he goes through that animation, there's really nothing you can do to try and defend yourself. You have to have oversight there. Also love the fact that he set the early one up inside of luggage just so they had a shield to play around inside of that space if a flank did come through from Team 1 earlier. And then also repositioning that to assist him in the plant, because that extends that entire default plant to be extremely safe. Think about it this way. They have got to kill Laxing, otherwise that plant goes down. There is no way that they get around that in any sense of the term to be able to do any damage to Foxe minus the smoke grenades. We really need to see that second impact come out, but unfortunately enough, you still have Laxing managing that window. So Team 1 have got to get ahead of Oxygen and their ability to set up on this offensive side.
That rationalizes, again, the jump out we ended up seeing from the lower windows, I believe, towards blue there, either from Maneskin or KDS, if memory serves me correctly, trying to take out Laxing, but he was too quick and too close to an angle to be able to counter that out immediately upon the hop out as well. Not the greatest subtlety behind that play as well from Team 1, so made it fairly easy for him to be able to immediately flick onto that player, take it out, and from that point forward, it was nigh impossible to eliminate him. Going back to the point you made, making it a very clean plan again for our attackers. hailing from North America. OXG up 2-0. We're going to be heading into, I believe, the first downstairs hole now coming out from Team 1 as they're going to move into this hole, but things will not start out too well for them. Yogg immediately taking out Levy there. And already putting OXG on a good straights at a 5v4 to start this round off with less than 30 seconds having been played as well.
Now, Levy all the way over inside of Office will get taken down by Kino and Yaga pressuring the position. A shot that Alamau could possibly hit here, but no, Kino instead. A laser beam through that angle. I don't know if they had a drone inside of security. There's a lot of cheeky spots. You can get some info inside of this space, but Alamau will get caught off guard. KDS will finally fight back. He flies out the window into Laxing's Claymore, though, and it'll be a perfect trade for Lax. He'll be perfectly happy with that. Lagonas tries to push forward, but that M590 at that range more than likely not going to work out. They know where Neskin is. Oh no!
Oh no, man.
We're just gonna leave that there.
To be fair, like, I don't think he was expecting the full run out here as that last player from Oxygen really just wants to make the cross. I don't even think wants to go for the kill necessarily, but it ends up turning into that as it's an unexpected play, and he catches our last defender with their pants down.
Yeah, that's one of those ones that you're really just going to want back. For Yaga's sake, he's probably just like, buddy, are you okay? Like, are you all right? I totally should have died right there.
You good?
But, yeah, but, you know, it is what it is.
Even Yogg just, like, kept on sprinting. He was like, oh, no, 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 no.
It happens to the best of us. We all know about sprinting in Siege from our good friend Kickstar. But either way, 3-0 lead here for Oxygen as they have just been doing the work as of right now. Team 1 cannot fight back in any sense of the word. You know, the early aggression over towards Office, I like the Team 1 are trying to get in Oxygen's face, but you need to do it as a team effort. That's the biggest thing right now. Oxygen are simply working better as a team. And yes, it is defensive side Coastline. It's pretty back and forth as to how this map goes. I always say it's really up to the teams as to what we see, but as of right now, this is just pure NA dominance.
NA taking control at this point with a 3-0 lead on the attacking side of Coastline as well. Team 1 really struggling to try and fend off any of the early aggression, even just the early clears coming in here from OXG. So Team 1 needs to try and find some way to get their feet on the ground, as save for the delay they were able to account for on the second round hold in Hookah. Not a whole lot has really been going well for Team 1, and even that was relatively under the control of Oxygen throughout most of the round. In fact, they could not properly leverage too many early kills for themselves.
Something that was quite interesting throughout the entirety of Stage 3 of the NAO when Oxygen really hit their stride is that Foxay had the second highest survival rating for all of Stage 3. And when you know it, John, he's got the second highest survival rating here at this LAN, just behind one of the greatest fraggers of all time, Nesk at a 51%, Oxygen and Foxay at a 49%. So he's surviving almost half of the rounds that he exists in. That's unheard of inside of Siege. Just as a comparison from someone else that's doing pretty decent here, I mean, we'll just take Space Station, for example. The highest on that team, 26%. That's a huge difference.
Massive difference here, especially when you consider, again, the fact that Oxygen did not have the greatest time yesterday in their matchup versus DWG, so the stats still holding themselves to be relatively impressive considering the poor outcome of that matchup. As far as Team 1 is concerned here, they're going to have to improve their own outcomes relatively quickly, and we'll see how they look to do that with some more off-site presence. We're now back downstairs, and that's a great opener from Alamau. Just lines it up versus Yaga. Knocks him out, but he stays out for too long, giving the response to Kino here from Pooldor, and he's going to go for more here. Will he catch the player? No, not by Kitchen, so it's a free trade from KDS, and Team 1 are in control of the situation yet again. Foxay nicely done, though. He's found a place to hide just underneath of this smoke grenade, and is going to be able to take out Lagonas, evening out the numbers yet again, and opening up a plant opportunity as well here. Laxing continues the tear now as he finds Levy too, and now he's even further as he's able to move himself outside of Hookah, grabbing KDS on a rotation up through Cool Vibes. Neskin does a double take, but it doesn't even matter as he falls last again. Once more, OXG on the board with another round at 4-0 versus Team 1.
Looking like the Miami Heat with LeBron James right now. Laxing just coming through the top space and cleaning out Team 1. No opportunity for any of them to fight back against a top 10 lane player of all time. OXG, specifically Foxay with the big brain plays there as well. I don't know if you caught it, but the Selma charge going down to mask the sound of the plant there. Those things are so unbelievably loud that with the Selma charge as well as the gunfire, Foxay is able to get over 75% of that plant done without a single person knowing what's going on. And since it's a 4-0 lead for Oxygen, Team One have some things to talk about.
We got a lot to talk about here, and nearly every aspect of the round. It doesn't matter if it's entries. Even if they get that, as we just saw there for Alamau, players are unfortunately staying out too long or just not catching the trade positions that have been set up from Oxygen. More importantly, there towards the pool door, so we see them get caught there. Most circumstances, they're not even getting that far. They're losing the first duel more often than not right now, so you need to find ways to get control over that, hold on to the site. They haven't even really successfully fended off any type of executes yet, unless, again, we look back towards round 2, and that, once more, was just a matter of draining out smoke grenades, so that's like, you know, your mileage may vary depending on how you look at that round.
Yeah, exactly. And the punishing, shots from Oxygen as well on these entries where they're just pulling Team One to do different sides of the map, whether it be, upstairs just above the site or taking out people over inside of office. Oxygen are doing it all right now. Their management of this map, I mean, it's paramount to their success. As of right now for Team One, just taking their double bar setup into, into our mind and talking about it here for a second, they're really not doing anything inside of Sunrise. Nothing really happening over inside of, Blue Bar either. It's really over towards the bottom of Vives, that jungle space underneath the default cam, where they're trying to occupy space and use their utility to prevent Oxygen from actually getting into the building, but it's just simply not working. Those smoke grenades are not going to prevent Foxe, especially with the way that he's managing that space. He's not just simply going for the default plant on the couch. He's moving that around that bar area and making it very difficult for Team One to predict where that's going down. They're mismanaging their utility and also losing way too many bodies to be able to do anything in the first place.
See issues even again with the clear here on this site. That's going to be coming up in a second. Looks like we'll be returning to the hookah billiards site. And once more, Team One failing to put pressure on from the side hallway, leading over towards luggage there because they lost too many players in the initial battle, so wasn't able to properly contest the aqua side push. Really only had Levy playing behind the small bar and a little bit of support coming in from hookah, but once more, completely contained by the OXG roster. So they're going to be feeling very confident heading back in here. No Osa, though, looking like on this retry from Oxygen. Instead, we are going to be seeing Vertical work himself in with the Jackal and Foxe now coming in once again here with the Selmas.
And also, just for a conversation point, because we talked about this at the beginning of Coastline, and for our newer viewers at home, I always like to kind of break things down for you so you can kind of be on the same page as us, just because Siege gets complicated sometimes. The hard breach conversation we were talking about, that's the first time we see Ace there, John, and it's just successful simply because of the noise that we had from that. I believe we had the 6 pick the other time, though, back into the Osa as well. But either way, you really don't need hard breach to achieve a lot here. It was simply just to make some noise, get a plant down securely. The Osa shields were also able to manage that same space in a very similar light. It's just the way that Coastline tends to go.
Absolutely the case. So for Oxygen, they're going to be bringing the Ace back into the fold this time around. Here in quite a few useful positions where you can see those Selmas getting chucked down at. Once again, I was talking about this before, actually. The sidewalls leading into billiards, they could potentially expose Levy's position. That was really the only issue inside of the last attempt here for Oxygen. So if that's what they're looking to mitigate, very easy job of pulling that off this time. Y'all going to chuck the nades in, pretty much no hesitation on that to try and fend off the security hold. They did have a drone inside of there, I think suggesting that Neskin might have been close enough to be hit by that nade, but it's way off the mark by the time it lands. Either way, though, it'll put presence over towards Neskin to make him fear pushing back in again, as they know they have intel on him through some method.
Laxing currently 7-2-3 in the game. Not a single player positive right now for Team One. The closest one, Levy, at 4-4. They have completely shut down the LATAM squad, who is looking for the bounce back here inside of round 5. Had the 6 pick earlier for Lagonas, going away from the Kaid over to the Mute. He's got the MP5K here, so he'll have access to that 1.5. Able to take some longer distance gunfights, but it's going to be against some very hard rifles to be able to contest, especially with these LMGs. On top of that, you have Foxe with the AK-12, the F2 on Kino, and then the C7E from Vertical. There's so many strong ARs for this offensive side right now, and Team One are more than likely going to feel that heat.
Kino and the rest of Team One waiting for an opportunity to move up. Neskin actually giving himself a good opportunity to possibly knock out Kino right there, but Kino is able to get high enough to avoid it here. And now the yellow ping's coming out. The nade, I think, slightly off. Oh, man, it almost gets him. Levy being brought down to a sliver of his own HP. 5 of it max remaining here. And Kino as well, still waiting for an opportunity to refrag onto the player over towards the main stairs. It's once again going to be Neskin potentially contesting from that side. Levy, interestingly enough, is sticking around too. He's not going to try and fall back to the site, and to be fair, he doesn't necessarily have a clean way to get out of here. But here comes the swing and the quick follow-up due to the low HP with only a bit being returned here. Kino does take some heat though as he tries to challenge Neskin once again. I think he does a bit to Foxe as well there. So Neskin doing some good poke damage, but still not going to hold back the overall take.
And does it really matter at the end of the day? Because Finka banned inside of this is on Yogg, so he'll be able to use his adrenal surges to buff his teammates back up. So Kino actually has extra HP just in the pocket right now that they're waiting to use. And the lower this time goes, the quicker Oxygen is going to be moving. Foxy starting off on the plant. They're going to do this on pretty decent time, but Lagonis will be able to pick up Foxy on the exit. This is the difference between having Ace in this situation and having Osa. Alamau still has 2 smokes, and as we hit this 20-second mark, this is where things get dangerous since they both delayed 10 seconds. A smoke out for Vertical, but Oxygen have got to get something done here. They need a plant spot. The smokes will come in to block off all of these different spaces. Neskin with the dagger to Vertical. Alamau will get taken down from Laxing, though, as it's all down to Neskin, who is downstairs. They're going to have to pick up the case. Yaga might actually go down in this situation. Laxing has to try and go for the kill, and this is going to be Team 1's first round practically gifted to them by the misplay from Oxygen.
Team 1 finally able to get some good presence going as well. Their Neskin, for instance, poking in from not only the luggage side hall and the front stairs window, but in addition to that, moving over towards Sunrise Bar at the end and successfully getting the pick onto Laxing this time, where the player that jumped out for it on the last attempt was immediately caught. Laxing obviously hugely preoccupied in that situation with trying to lay down the smokes and kind of play Overwatch for his teammates going for the plant. So good work there as Team 1 finally capture some of the chaos and are able to use it to their advantage to bleed out that time. In addition to better usage of their smoke utility as well, had no problem just chucking those in with the 40 seconds remaining and letting all 3 of those bleed out till the end of the round.
Speaking of smokes, I really would have liked to seen Vertical use his smokes a little bit earlier, because that would have prompted Team 1 to immediately start tossing Toxic Babes, because they can't see what's going on inside of the room. So they're going to be baited into using their utility for your utility in exchange. And honestly, offensive smokes don't mean that much in comparison to those Toxic Babes that can prevent you from putting that plant down. So for Oxygen, a little bit of mismanagement, but they're still got a long lead ahead in front of Team 1 here. So we'll see if they can continue their reign of terror on this offensive side, as it's coming to an end here in round 6.
Team 1 not necessarily feeling the replay at this point over in the double bars, and I would tend to agree with that, given the way the 2 previous attempts went here. So we'll have to see if that'll be the only round they can scavenge together on this defensive half, or if maybe some success can be found in the kitchen. Still we'll see, of course, the usual extensions in the Sunrise, specifically played by Levy at this point, and a few other players potentially coming into the mix there to fend off the play from Oxygen. Where will Oxygen take this, however? That's the big question in mind here. We'll be finding an answer over the next minute or so as they start to set themselves up with their spawn coming out on the map. No huge changes to the operator lineup. These things are going to look pretty similar to the last round.
Fairly straightforward here. We'll have to see what Oxygen can get done. They have switched out the Jackal on Vertical for Sledge instead, so some more grenades here inside of the lineup. Claymores for Laxing and Fox as well, so they'll be able to manage those hop outs. Don't need a Nomad or anything like that in order to do so. 30 seconds off the board as of right now. Pretty patient game going on here. Alamau's just going to let that Soma go off, because if he shoots it, he's probably going to die. So he's going to let that open up here. Now, this angle in particular is a pretty new, unique one to the overall gameplay into this space. It's going to allow them to hold on to vibes. Alamau now has been discovered. Going to try and push forward, but that's ill-advised as Kino's still watching the cross.
Once again, man, Alamau just trying to stay in, trying to take that fight for way too long. Second time he's been caught by it now from an off angle due to staying extended and tunnel visioning. Only slightly, but it's costing him enough there, the slightness of it. Levy now looking to pick up the responses here, but Kino gonna be able to nearly gets himself a personal double. Vert helping out though to make sure it goes well for him, as both players will pick up a kill, and just like that, a little under halfway through the round, we are already down to a 5v2. It's KDS upstairs and Neskin close to the site that'll have to try and fend off the full team pressure that Oxygen have yet to even bring close to the site.
That F2 is a little wild nowadays too, so that spray transfer was very clean as he downs both of them. KDS will finally fight back. He takes down Kino, the man we were just talking about, but not before Vertical can refrag him. This is just falling apart here for Team 1 as Oxygen is looking to go up 5-1 here on Coastline. And just as a reminder, guys, look at the top of your screen as we finish this round. This is Team 1's pick. This is extremely unfortunate for them in the current, moment. But either way, for Team 1, I think this is how their overall strategy has been going for a little while now. The big map that I always like to point out is if you go back to the Mexico Major, the way that they held Consulate. Consulate's not in the map pool anymore, but the way that they held Consulate was holding map pressure across the entire map and forcing teams to take it from them, but in a very aggressive sense of the term. And I'm talking all the way upstairs inside of short desk, contesting people in admin windows while they're trying to just get into the map. It seems like they still have that same energy here for Coastline, but it's just not being executed in the same way. Alamau especially going for more of a cheeky angle inside of blue. He doesn't really have a teammate around there to try and assist him. He's also not ready for any other Oxygen members to be in the area to try and fight him. Alamau, 5 people are still alive, and they just made the angle over top of you that is going to be held for most of that. It's a harsh cutoff for cool vibes. No longer can anybody rotate down that stairwell or try to get into Sunrise unless they want to face the F2.
And the problem, you know, talking further about the Alamo situation is, even if he does have a teammate to support him, both the times he's been picked first inside of the early portion of this round here, it's pretty untradeable, because I'm pretty sure both the times he's been picked, it's come from people outside the building as well. So he's just constantly staying on these angles where someone could find, someone could find him, and he's not even looking at it for like 5-10 seconds, and it's just giving himself away way too easily to the members of Oxygen here. So hopefully gonna be able to patch that up as we get further into this series here, as they'll have to realize they really can't contest, at least not on this map, against the opening aggression from OXG.
Yeah, might need that coin that we saw Demo and Fresh talking about for all these flips that we're seeing inside of this defensive strategy, but luckily enough, Team 1 will be on the offensive side this time around. And looking at their overall strategy, we're actually going to have an operator that we don't get to see that often anymore inside of the soft breach department. It's going to be Ash out here for Levy. Lagona's also bringing hard breach inside of this lineup with the Habana coming into play. Almost messed that one up whilst I'm wearing my Habana jacket. That would have been a little bit too much, especially for the morning, but either way, it looks like they want to try and go for Mudroom initially. This is pretty default so far from Team 1.
Pretty constrained so far here as well from Oxygen. No one trying anything crazy inside of the first minute of play. Of course, they are ready for the challenge should we start to see Team 1 take map control, but they themselves have not gone anywhere close to the degree we were seeing from Team 1, such as the peaks and the runouts from people like Alamau in that previous half there. So things will continue to go relatively calmly inside of this first minute of play, this first third of the round here, as Team 1 actually continue to gather quite a bit of intel from their drone game. They're going to see that 90's open for the taking. They will be able to spot Foxy over here by the front window, and he's only just now noticed the drone place. The spray coming in from Neskin is going to be able to sneak at least one bullet of damage off onto Foxy. Their attention is immediately drawn towards the front door, though. They're not too worried about that push in towards Penthouse just as of yet here. Levy knows the rotation happened back downstairs, but still going to be unable to catch any damage on either Yogg or Foxy as they fall back behind the check-in desk as well as into security.
And Yaga especially has came into his own at this LAN. He's looking extremely impressive, John. 8-1 on his entry game before we started off this series. That's +7. He's only died once as the opening death. Truly incredible stuff from him, also with a rating of a 1.24. So contesting Foxy for the top of the squad. This came a long way. He's been playing this game for quite some time, but now for Oxygen, they're looking to take it to Team 1 inside of this round as well, as they've delayed for quite some time. Team 1 starting to break up the floor down here for double bar, but Oxygen still prioritizing a lot of different spaces around the area. Yaga's still all the way over in security, so could push up into office if one of the Team 1 members wants to start trying to push in for blue. But again, this is looking more like a Sunrise plant than anything.
Yeah, 45 seconds left here, and it's looking like the direction that Team 1's going to go aligns pretty well with the Sunrise play here. Oxygen with the setup to stop that from mainly the outside of the site here. KDS already trying to challenge against the rotation into blue here, and we can see struggling with that as he's been brought down to about half of his own HP. Neskin, similarly, you guys might have caught it about 30 to 40 seconds ago, lost half of his own HP from a Nitro. That's going to be a bit of a messy chuck from Yogg, and it won't be anywhere close to any of the members of Team 1. Neskin will eventually catch the first player here from Oxygen as he takes out Foxy, but they're still stuck at the entrance over here by Pool Door as we come down to the last 15 seconds. Alamau's in, but do they have the confidence for the plan? Yes, they do, as they're finally going to find positioning to put it down in the corner.
Oh, Vertical had the play there and behind the couch, but it's Alamau to strike true instead. 2 shots, 2 kills for him out of that F2. Laxian with a pretty cheeky angle. He'll get taken down as well. Yaga has the crosshair, but with the plant already down, no one's really going to be vacating the space. Pretty easy kills for Team 1 as they finally are able to get things settled and find a round on this offensive side as they begin to pull things back away from OXG. Only issue right now is they have a long road ahead of them. Oxygen still have plenty of options inside of their defensive of setup, and we're more than likely going to see them start spinning these sites until they can find one that sticks. And it begins now, John. They're going to hookah billiards.
Yeah, all things considered, that was a really good round from Team 1, though, made Oxygen respect them to a huge degree, as OXG pretty much had to hand over the site for a large majority of that round. Even the extended positions upstairs in hookah, we didn't really see them contesting too much towards that one. The one big play I think we did see was Laxing trying to hop out the kitchen window and go for a peek against the pool door push, but even that was immediately spotted, and he had to turn tail running back inside, so just nobody could really set anything up that worked from Oxygen that time, struggling similarly in a lot of the ways we saw Team 1 doing the same back in the first half. So now time to see if OXG can adjust quickly. We've already seen them do so in their game against Na'Vi, but this is a different breed of opponent in Team 1 here, even so as we saw them struggle yesterday versus Damwon as well. Might be in for a bit of a tougher time here in trying to close out this map, but good news is, like Stokes was mentioning, they already started this one up 5-1, so only need 2 out of the overall 6 rounds in this half to be victorious and go up 1-0.
Well, Foxay also going to 6-pick into Pulse. Quite a disgusting operator for him. And no, it's not just his playstyle. It's what he puts on this damn gun, man. It's the red dot angle extended barrel setup. He's been running this thing for years. If you guys have been a big fan of Oxygen, Rec, NA Cloud9, whatever iteration of Foxay you have been watching, you have seen this guy play with this gun. Biggest clip from him with this thing has got to be the Consulate Ace around the spiral stairwell. But here's the beauty of Pulse, as well as what Foxay can get done with this. He can get so much information for his team. He can dictate the entire pacing of what the defense wants to do, and that's the beauty of that cardiac sensor.
I don't know what's been going on with the Apex silencers. I don't know if you've noticed that yet.
I've seen a couple of them.
I think they've been primarily been on APAC teams. So I'm trying to figure out if that's a thing in APAC or something.
The big thing is that there's no bullet tracers when you use the suppressor.
Yeah, true.
So, you know, it makes it a little bit easier in a certain sense, but it also gives you more recoil, the damage drop-off's worse, and it actually pulls away from the gun overall.
I saw it on a TCSG.
Don't question. You know what, John? I would take that argument, but I just really don't want to.
So, I don't really think you need to worry about tracers on that gun. No?
Yeah, no, not really, you know? But either way, though, we're about a minute in here to round 8. Vertical's going to get taken down upstairs. Yaga with the refrag onto Neskin. So honestly, they'll take that one, as the Jaeger will continue to exist, and that's the sledge gone. So some grenades off the board, and that's actually going to be quite important, as that's half the grenades that they had. KDS having the only other set.
Yeah, relatively minimal loss in terms of utility here for Oxygen, more so in player count than anything, is obviously Jaeger has the ability to preset all of his devices before the round even really gets started. Native attempt from below here from KDS. It's a little off the mark, though, and I think a wall is going to block out the large majority of the damage, so nothing really done to KDS. Second attempt was being primed up, but that one, too, is way off the mark here, as nothing connects onto Yaga, and he stays safe and can now even contest from the top down if he so chooses by hopping over that couch.
I have to completely agree with what we've been seeing on Twitter when it comes to the frag grenades. This has got to be the lane.
Dude, it's ridiculous.
The most frag grenade kills, and it's because of the amount of people that have access to them. It's so easy to work in 6, 8 grenades all at the same time and just continue to depth charge everybody from underneath. It makes it super hard to be able to contest as well, because you're forced to be able to try and compete downstairs, but a lot of sites don't really play well into that. It makes it to where the offense can get some super easy picks. So instead, you have to try and play for your life upstairs and try and get some info around the space where they could possibly be tossing those nades and just try and avoid it overall.
Start calling it the mortar meta to a certain extent here. KDS will attempt to challenge the position from Smoke on Cool Vibes, but will immediately pay the price for it as a Toxic Babe opens up. Kino, though, nearly getting caught, and actually does get caught here. One extra bullet sneaks its way into him, and that'll knock him down, although he could potentially back up here. They haven't fully realized it yet, but now they are, as KDS creeps up the stairs, and oh no, the dominoes begin to fall here. Levy also finds some success in his own degree. Yog trying to hold on his own. Those motion sensors going out. Laxing with a toss, but no explosion when he presses the button. Yaga will be the first to respond instead here. Laxing tries to play forward, but can't get it done, and Yog is caught on the transition. Excellent pushes from KDS, as well as the outside team that takes care of the smoke. It gets them access to the site, and it gets them access to a second round.
Well, Oxygen is just not really able to contest Team 1 anywhere inside of the map. They get in down low, start using those frag grenades. Yes, they don't really do anything, but really the only thing that Oxygen able to achieve inside of that round is a trade for Sledge. You're going to need to do a little bit more than that to be able to get Team 1 off of the site. And as we were talking about before, I believe that Oxygen are going to continue to rotate these sites until they find one that works. This time around, it's going to be Kitchen.
So Kitchen now going to come into play here for Oxygen. We'll keep in mind any big operator changes that are going to come into the fold as well. Most notable one, notable two actually, will be Mira coming in, and that's the more expected one. But Ella as well getting picked up this time by Laxing. Should be interesting to see how she is going to get incorporated. Probably with the Eva as well, so expect her to play more literally all over the map here, but just fulfilling kind of a usual roaming role.
You always gotta love Ella. I mean, there's a lot of people that hate Ella. I'm also slightly in that boat just because Grishamot Mines might be one of the most annoying defensive utilities to run into. You just really can't win the gunfight past that. It's kind of just over for you, especially if Ella is within the vicinity of you at all with either her shotgun or her SMG. They're both pretty damaging when it comes down to it. For some of our longer standing Siege players, you guys will more than likely remember when the Scorpion was the most busted gun in the game. So, you know, it's still a really, really good gun. The recoil pattern's a little squirrely, but it is definitely one of those guns that if you can land shots consistently, you will tear people to shreds. So we'll see if Laxing's got the sauce today, as he has had for most of this land.
We're going to do some more shred tearing here, and Yahoo nearly getting one. I don't even think he expected to find him there. Levy just out in the open and says bye-bye to half of his health here. Not even really given a chance to respond to that due to how sporadic it was. So XG start this one out with some heat this time.
Absolutely. Have the frag grenades coming in on Neskin and KDS once again, so only a 4 set. But obviously Team 1 not seemingly needing them in the moment. They're 2 rounds inside of their offensive set thus far. Be starting things out here over on the service side, but they're mostly just wrapped around the building trying to manage these windows and see if Oxygen want to get aggressive. They could possibly get a pretty easy pick here. We saw Oxygen doing this quite often on their offensive side as they're continually trying to apply pressure through just info game and trying to man these windows and doors to see if any of the Team 1 members wanted to swing. So same boat here for Team 1. It's going to be a patience game right now for Oxygen, waiting on Team 1 to actually enter the building, but obviously they want info on this top floor initially before they start to push themselves in, because they want to make sure that Neskin isn't going to get pushed as he begins his work upstairs inside of Penthouse.
Yogg will be able to strike first here, not even against the player that he opened up the round with damage against either. This time it's going to be Alamau that's found out. Keep in mind, guys, this is easily the brightest star on Team 1 right now, so that's going to hurt, but the good news is there's another one that's been performing quite well throughout this series as well. Levy picks up the instantaneous trade against Vertical, knocking out the Jaeger early in the round again. We're halfway through, and both teams have lost about 1 player each here, so Team 1 going to start to line up their hop maybe in through the window and begin to put pressure onto the site. As we can see, KDS already in position just outside that kitchen window, and Oxygen still with a bit of extended presence all the way over here to security and further down the hallway toward the double bars as well. Laxing, of course, will notice the opening, so he's going to have to back up with his teammate a little bit further into the depths of security, making this a bit of an awkward situation for the both of them as they try to figure out how exactly the best path forward is.
Absolutely, and very unfortunate for Team 1 as they have lost Alamau, their top frag, but Levy trying to change it up here as he'll take one down inside of security. Kino will lose his life, but Foxay will be able to claim Levy instead. Lagonas will be able to get a plant off in sight, no one seemingly home. KDS inside of the kitchen space, and this is not looking like a round for Oxygen in the moment. Foxay has a lot to do here as Laxing will rotate upstairs and see if he can possibly get the man off of these angles. Foxay making his way in, knows he's going to have a multitude of people around this space. One still inside of service, not able to land the flick as Lagonas will chop his head off. Laxing, it's down to him instead of a 1 versus 3, but he's not going to get too far here as Team 1 are spread out. So that's going to be yet another Team 1 round here as they will shore up this score line to just a single round.
Once again, OXG just giving far too much respect over to the aggression that's working its way in from Team 1, thinking that they can take them down from range there, but then getting preoccupied with a fight closer to their actual positions and not even noticing that the plan is already going down here. Drones obviously exist, so Team 1 is going to realize this and is going to capitalize on it every single time an opportunity comes. I think this is an appropriately timed pause coming in from OXG. They're still in the lead, but only by 1 round at this point. They don't want to repeat of that first map from Damwon game the other day where they had a massive 4-round lead and were not able to translate it. The future very much repeats itself, or could potentially repeat itself here for Oxygen if they don't bounce back in this upcoming round.
Yeah, need this timeout here. This is starting to look like Oxygen up against Damwon One Gaming Kia. I mean, you know, we saw them get really far ahead against DWG, but them able to pull it all the way back, and Oxygen's mental just crumbled for map 2, end up taking a 2-0 for DWG. They do not want a repeat of that because Oxygen were feeling themselves coming into this tournament. You and I actually having a conversation with Laxian as well. He looked very calm and collected. He was like, hey man, we're just doing our thing. We're gonna get our scrims in today, maybe eat some good food. We're not too worried about this land. We know we're getting out of groups, but now this is starting to look like it could be forming a question mark.
A bit dodgy indeed here, and once again, OXG, the fix appear simple, but we'll have to see if they catch on to it as well, and we're going to be able to incorporate that into the upcoming round. As we head back into it, the pause time has expired, and we're getting ready to jump into the game once again.
It's like more of like a, not like a corduroy jacket, but what's Laxton wearing here? Look at that thing. That's clean.
I think it's just a button-up, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, hey man, I like it. I'll be honest with you.
Unbuttoned button-up.
Yeah, initially I thought he was on Cardigan Gang there with Foxay, but I'm more in the Foxay boat for this one. I'll be honest. I'm always down for the Cardigan. Let me tell you.
All right, so into round 10, double-digit rounds here, so only 3 left to play out inside of regulation. Overtime certainly in the cards as well. If OXG can get their feet on the ground, they too have struggled immensely to find an opening defensive round. 2 have played out so far, no success as of yet. They're going to stretch their site choices a bit further than we saw Team 1 do, however, as they primarily just played into the double bars and hookah until they found success. This time we're going to see OXG go all the way over to Penthouse because they do have Mira available, which eases the defender's time on that quite a bit. So let's see how this one plays in, as we've seen quite a bit of innovation in this site in the last 12 months or so.
Absolutely, my friend, and it all comes from what we did inside of VIP here. As we talked about earlier, the window got changed out for some walls, but also the bookshelf got extended to make it easier to play around that space. So there's so many options now to play inside of this VIP area. We're more than likely going to see this occupied. You can see towards the east side of the room that they've opened up this entire wall, so that's extending out towards Penthouse, which still to this day is a no man's land. You do not want to exist inside of this area unless you really want to lose your life.
So, OXG will take that philosophy to heart and play outside of these positions, mainly relying on the 90 hull they have for themselves outside of both of the sites, and as well some more extensions over towards the hookah billiards area, where they'll continue to try and waste time as well here. This is a site where Team 1 is going to have to pay respect to that, where we've seen on the previous 2 sites them able to kind of work their way around it through other means. Not really going to be able to accomplish that so much this time.
I love that Claymore placement. Just put it right under the hatch, so if somebody wants to make a cheeky pop real quick and drop down, they just die instantaneously. That's a pretty funny setup there from Team 1, but definitely one that can work out.
It's like a frost mat level of setup right there, trying to catch someone when they're not looking pretty much. We'll see if it works out here from Oxygen if they get caught trying to clear these players out, which that is going to be the intention too. We can see Vert getting some pressure thrown out against him. They may be tempting to go for that in a few moments, so we could very well see them be thrown into that very dangerous trap if things align well for these. Oh man, they've got the red and everything on that indicator there, but somehow it's not going to deal the damage necessary. They'll see the drone too, so they're probably going to be a little bit confused as to how that nade didn't work out, but they might try it again in a second, as of course they have 2.
Well, fortunately enough for Vertical, if he does lose his life here, he has wasted so much damn time. There's a minute and 20 seconds. KDS has to hit this nade here.
There
he will be successful. So fortunately enough for Vertical, he's done his job on this extension. Yaga's going to push back into VIP, but you can see Team 1 are still managing this side of the map, and they have to be looking for a plant soon. Used to be that Penthouse was one of the worst sites to play in this entire map, John, but now this is looking like Oxygen's greatest stand.
OXG now looking to hold out here, and at minimum have wasted a lot of time, even with the player disadvantage, having lost Vertical, as Stokes mentioned. The time wasted is somewhat worth the trade of the player here, so now it's up to Team 1 to make up for it, or potentially just run right into the setup and have to fight it out just again via gun skill, which would mean that I have to run into all the utility setup here for OXG as well. That includes quite a bit here in terms of their nades getting eaten up, the Goyo shields, which could potentially block their way in here, and those Mira setups, which is going to boost OXG's capability, just immediately pick these guys off when they come behind them as well here. Nades getting chucked in, that does deal with at least one of the mute jammers, blocking access to intel, and their drone game here is so going to get one more quick look at things, and they will be forced in as we approach that oh so infamous 20-second marker.
KDS inside of Guitar. Team 1 have to spring 2 as of right now. Lagonos will rotate into Penthouse as things start to get cleaned up. Lagonos will start the plant as well, but 2 big kills, 3 big kills for Oxygen as the Nitro Cell comes through. KDS continuing to fight, Levy with 1 as well, but Yaga with the perfect play through 90. They just mismanage it. They have nobody inside of this space to be able to manage Yaga. He's been there the whole time, and he simply just lies in wait until they make that critical error. Moves in through VIP, claims the case once again for Oxygen, and they finally find their defensive round.
Yeah, much better early round that time from OXG, specifically the time wasted up by Vertical that you had been mentioning up on the inside of Billiards. Good stuff there as it brings that play alone just brings it all the way down to the minute-and-a-half marker. And from that point forward, as you guys probably noticed, Team 1 do not have the time nor the utility either via using all their nades to try and clear out Vertical to actually take out what was set up in the actual site. So good stuff coming in there from OXG. A fast adjustment off their pause, and even better for them, Team 1 has already used theirs, so we go immediately up towards map point because of the halftime advantage, and now the heat is on for Team 1.
Well, for Team 1 inside of that last round, the nades being a little bit mismanaged, they are not really able to land their shots like you were talking about with that more depth charge-esque play there towards the couches at the back of Billiards. But past that, they did still have that set out towards VIP, but they used it on 90 where Yaga was lying in wait for that Mira, but he wasn't home. The reason being, they'd already wasted so much time. So why do I need to play aggressively when I know you have hookah control? I'm just going to wait inside of 90 and see what happens. They wasted all inside of that space for literally nothing. It doesn't pop the Mira. It doesn't really do anything for them inside of that moment. So it's really unfortunate there for Team 1 as to how that round ended up breaking down, but Oxygen doing a great job of managing their time and having a great understanding of what needed to be done going into that last minute.
Now we are back up to Hookah Billiards, though, where we did see issues prevalent before for this team. So once again, going to have to see if they can contest properly against the early clear coming in from Team 1, as if once more they hand over too much respect. They try to play this too far back. That could be an opportunity for Team 1 to waltz right in and sneak off a plant. It seems like they're leaning in towards the sites where they might be able to play closer to the chest, and that's certainly a good play because of an issue they ran into. Big theme here for Oxygen has been their ability to quickly adjust. We already saw that back in the game versus Na'Vi after getting tripped up on the initial round of that series by them, and it went pretty much flawlessly after that, and they're looking to do the same thing here from the defensive side of this first map against Team 1. Things going slow again as Team 1 is trying to line up probably their opening nade volley. We can already see one of those lined up from down below, so the hunt for Yaga begins more than likely.
Yaga currently at a 2.0 KD inside of this game. Also has the highest KPR as of right now for his squad. He had a 0.9 before this started. Will this nade get him? The couch prevents the explosive from taking him out. That's the beauty of that couch inside of this space. They'll actually have to use both nades to be able to vacate him from the back of Billiards, but Oxygen more than likely still having some cards inside their sleeve they could possibly pull out at a moment's notice. Foxay stepping up. He knows that somebody's inside of this space as they're trying to manage him over here inside of Vase, but oh no, he's made the play now. He's found some space, and Foxay trying to feel himself here as Neskin still holds the window. Ill-advised from Foxay as he'll lose his life.
Foxay thinking again, the presence would have more than likely been contained over towards the front door, and Kino not ready for the swing up through Cool Vibes. Laxing as well, just drop-shotting it looks like there, and Alamau tearing everyone up from the upside down. Big window repel, a big and more importantly fast traded round coming in from Team 1, and they are right back into it here. 5-6 is the scoreline, and we go to the final round of regulation to see if it's going to be a clean one for OXG or overtime at the very outset of the series.
Well, you want to know what my favorite Netflix series is like this last year? Gotta be the Queen's Gambit. That's exactly what we saw inside of that round. They just kind of just give everything of importance over to Team 1. Do I need to educate you on what a Queen's Gambit is?
I've seen it. I would just say you're probably getting a lot of angry like Squid Games.
Whatever. It's A-okay. I have an opinion. You guys can yell at me on the Bird app or whatever. It's perfectly fine. Either way, though, yeah, they just gave up a lot of material inside of that one, and that's the thing that we really don't want to see out of Oxygen. Especially the aggressive play there from Foxay. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think he was just trying to throw something at Team 1 that they weren't exactly exactly expecting, but with Neskin lying there with open arms, you're really not going to get anything past him simply because of how the POVs work out. He's going to see you way before you see him as you hop out that window, so this is going to be another freebie for him in that situation. So a little bit unfortunate play there for Oxygen. Another unfortunate thing for them is that they're not going to be able to go back to Penthouse because it's still locked out. They need this round to actually open it up, but obviously if Team 1 win this, we're going to overtime in the first place. Just as a reminder though, this is Team 1's map pick. So for Oxygen to be ahead in this current time, it's going to be pretty difficult for Team 1, obviously, but either way, they can still force OT here. Really like that Grismont mine placement that you were pointing out in behind the bomb chassis. That'll be a call sign as to when that plan is starting to go down.
Yeah, it's a sneaky one too. More than likely not going to get caught by the Team 1 members unless they've seen that played out before. I personally have not, so we'll have to wait and see if Team 1 is going to be potentially expecting that. Young is well second player now to jump onto Ella here, as I believe we saw Laxing use it in a previous round to play towards the front lobby. So chucking that around a little bit here as they play into different sites. Last time it was used for a kitchen defense, where obviously we have the double bar hold coming in this time for Team 1. Oxygen could fall victim to the very same issue that we were seeing Team 1 struggle with, and obviously OXG in earlier rounds here, though, so far for this team's defense, where if they play too heavily into the extended game, they plead ignorance to the actual site setup too much, there's a good possibility Team 1 can kind of waltz right in while there's one or two skirmishes going on outside of that and find an easy plant. Both teams have been having an issue with this so far in this series.
This is looking like the site that could get it done for Oxygen, though, as we look across this entire operator lineup here. Grismont mines as well as a pulse for Foxay, so we'll be able to keep a bead on Team 1, at least for the time. Now, somebody's on the roof here, can probably find a few other bodies around the space. We'll definitely see Levy outside, so they'll know that this is starting to come in towards the VIP kitchen space here in just a little bit. Team 1 still trying to manage the outside of the building as well, although KDS will step up instead of Guitar. Pre-fire is out as Vertical will take a little bit of heat, but it's actually Laxing to go down first. He'll get dusted inside of 90 as Team 1 begin to progress.
Neskin moving forward after that first successful kill is found against Laxing here. What's more, the mutes, so not a huge amount of mid-round utility being lost from that one here. No nitro is available now, however, for the defense is the important note to take away from that one. Foxay has already used his. Laxing dead on the ground here. It's going to be a little bit passive. It's important to note, though, Yogg still holding a pocket deployable shield at this point, so we can see that come out here at some later point in the round if he wants to build a bit of a mini bunker for himself to play into should that become necessary. Time being wasted. Good swing from Kino as he catches Neskin moving up towards the top Cool Vibes position and trades it down to an even game again.
That was perfectly done. The timing with the swing as soon as one of his teammates goes outside to trigger those red words right in front of your eyes. Sometimes it just pulls you away from that scope for a second, John, and it's a perfectly done swing from Yaga. 12, or rather Kino. Kino currently 8 and 10 in the moment, but he's going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting in this space, but it's actually Vertical. He's put himself inside of the line of fire in behind the Sunrise bar. Levy's going to begin breaking the floor above him, but look at the time right now, folks. This is going to come down to the wire here for our last round.
Here comes the gas as well. Just going to start chucking those out. Already used one earlier on in the round, though, so just one additional to be chucked out. The timing should work out, though, and give room for Vertical to play into his position, but he can only find one as KDS hides in the corpse of his fallen teammate to trade it back out. Levy, with an additional pickup, converts one.
Stairs, but they don't do it, John. Nobody rotates upstairs to stop the man inside a hookah. And the really sad part about this is Oxygen, both members are actually safe. They could have gotten together, contested the top area, take the 2 versus 1, and then try and go downstairs and go for Sunrise instead. You cannot allow them to contest through that vertical angle. It's just too harsh to try and fight.
Even before that, like, what was the huge delay on throwing out that last gas grenade as well?
They didn't know where he was.
They didn't know where he was, I guess, so they didn't hear the sound of the plant going down, didn't want to try and throw it out there. So that ends up allowing the plant to go through, and in my opinion, it probably could have been stopped if someone had a little bit better intel on that situation there. So unfortunate for OXG. Seemed like the round was within their grasp, but it falls out of it just within those last few seconds of the round.
Well, the biggest thing has been the fall off of Foxay inside of this game. 5 and 7 as of right now. We have not seen that from him in any of these series. Past that, everybody else really popping off, but Vertical still very quiet for this land. I think you and I both expected quite a bit out of our second best player in the entirety of the NAL at a 1.38 rating. When we casted them the last time we talked about this, the only reason that Vertical was not the highest rated player inside of the NAL was because Hot and Cold had the most stellar stage of his entire year at, I believe, a 1.46, 1.48 rating. That's just actually absurd. when it comes down to it. So pretty hard to fight against that, but for Vertical, we would love to see him come back to light here and get away from this 4-9 scoreline.
Fox are going to take a little bit of a risk here with that first Frost Mat, throwing it down just at the bottom of the bathroom walk-in. Obviously, again, if they go for the slow clear and pop that open well in advance, it's going to get immediately spotted and shot out. But if you remember the last time they played Penthouse, Team 1 didn't even come close to this part of the map until like 20 seconds left in the round. So considering that, I think he's hoping that maybe there's a rushed execute, possibly involving that hatch or that position inside, and they won't have time to check and or clear that, giving him a potential opening kill, though.
Well, 2 drones out here for Team 1, and this is exactly how Pro League teams clear maps, folks. Have drones on both sides. They're going to clear out this half of the map, allow Alamau to start working inside of Sunrise with both of these drones in tandem. If you guys caught it with your eagle eyes as well, you'd see multiple Team 1 members looking at each other's screens. That's completely legal. They're using information from each other. That's the beauty of a LAN setup. A lot of teams playing in team houses, they're used to this kind of thing. And with how Siege works, info is your best friend. It leads to everything inside of this game. Proper utility usage, kills, the whole 9 yards. So for Team 1, they're going to try and do a bang-up job on this round because this is paramount to their success. If Oxygen get this, they'll more than likely get their offensive round as well, but luckily enough for Team 1, they have an Alamau and a kill on a Yaga.
Alamau striking first and against one of the more powerful fraggers here from Oxygen as well. That's Yaga going down here with no response to be seen here for the rest of the play from him. Other member is going to have to pick up the slack here and step things up. As KDS has his drone working with him here, he's going to be able to push forward and start getting himself below the setup here. Once again, both nades still in pocket for KDS, so if they were able to get a drone upstairs closer to some of these players, he could be looking to line something up for himself. Not at least inside of here, though. That'll be safe harbor for our Frostmat player. Fox8 currently in that position here. Other positions, however, will be a bit more exposed and can be susceptible to those mortar strikes from the nades below.
Well, a large time sink yet again here for Team 1 as Lagonis will reposition himself to the north side of the building. Overall, Oxygen staving off Team 1 as they play around the site. We have some odds and ends around the space as Alamau will be working this top end area. Still have to worry about 90 as well as a now positioned member at the top of White. Fox8 out inside of the open space, but you can see the drone from Alamau in already. Should get taken out here from Fox. Alamau, don't know if he knows that Frostmat's below him. Hopefully it's destroyed before he drops down here. Oh, but no, it's actually
not even that one.
guitar.
They didn't even shoot the other one yet.
Lagonis is down. He's dead. Is that case control in their hands? I don't believe that it is. Frag Grenade out will take down Kino, but Team 1 have a lot to do in the last 30 seconds. Levy will get the kill on a vertical. Laxing fires back as it's a 3 versus 2.
Case control is potentially down here, and indeed it is here. Fox8 controlling it at the moment, so they just have to play into that one. KDS, though, walking right up to a free pick on Laxing. Fox8 now to try and bleed out the timer. Good pre-fire there, and that's going to drop Neskin, but he's going to hold back the rest of this swing now. Case is back under the control of Team 1. They're in the site, and they've got the kill. They take round 1 of overtime, and they're in the lead for the first time.
Oh, Fox8 is going to be feeling that pressure inside of that round. The 1 versus 3, completely doable for him, but extremely unfortunate at the end of the day how that one breaks down. Either way, though, Oxygen in the driver's seat here for the offensive side now as Team 1 pulls ahead for the very first time in this series.
Team 1 up 7-6, and only one more round required for them to be able to close out map number 1 here, which is a result I don't think either of us expected, given the way the first half went.
No, not at all. I really expected Oxygen to have a better setup for double bar. I think that was the biggest thing here. I was very happy with what happened for their penthouse setup. I think that was quite good. I feel as though Kitchen in the current moment really isn't the greatest spot to be playing just because of how good teams are at clearing it and getting plants down inside of kegs now. It's been going extremely well. But for Oxygen, they're going to have to go back into this offensive side, get this round, and then find something on their defensive side. We'll have to see how it goes. We have to cross this bridge first before we get there, as Oxygen will be back on offense with this Osa coming back out from Fox8.
Actually was a huge piece of the puzzle that allowed Oxygen to find success, specifically on this site attack as well here. We'll have to once again find it once more, as seemingly we're lost on that defensive end of the map here. But attacking side, harking back to our regulation rounds, were very, very promising, as we saw with a 5-1 split there that Team 1 also replicated inside of the second half. So Oxygen still in a good position to potentially take this round and send us to a final one to decide the true winner of this first map here. No surprises on the setup really for either team. Like we talked about before, OXG just kind of bringing out the stuff we saw them use previously on the Assault here, specifically the OSA. And for the defense, everything is pretty in line with what we would come to expect for this type of a site hold.
Absolutely, my friend. The big thing as of right now that Oxygen's going to have to worry about, although it's unbeknownst to them, is the amount of utility that Team 1 have to deal with these OSA shields. They've got 2 Nitro Cells as well as 2 impacts on Levy, so they can definitely get rid of both of these and still make it very difficult for Foxday to get a plant down. Like we saw the last time when they attacked this with Ace, it's a little difficult to get that default plant down inside of the billiard space, simply because of the angle that they can manage for Hookah to be able to cut you off if they do smoke you out or something like that. The OSA shield assists with that so very much, so Oxygen will bring it back into the fold, not only because of how successful it was for this site, but also for double bar. So if Team 1 went to either of those, OSA would help them out a whole heck of a lot coming into this one. It's going to be pretty slow moving initially, but we're looking at a very similar round to what we saw the last time. Vertical going to be managing this window. Laxing going to hop in down low to make sure that no one will rotate into vertical like he did the last time inside of Sunrise.
Laxing continuing to maintain his presence here, watching out to see if there's going to be any aggressive swings to work their way in and line up a potential Nitro Cell counter to the play. Here he too with the capability to at least open up the position of the player over here towards the couch once more, and this time we're not going to see much damage at all connecting on to said player here. Lagonis still looking nice and healthy at this point, and not even to mention too, as our observer just pointed out, lots of counter pressure still to potentially swing in here from the main stairs area, as well as up on top of that through luggage hallway. This is going to be a rough talk from OXG and a rough push from them as well, but the good news is they're here early. There's still 1 minute and 20 seconds remaining, so as long as they can bait out the utility on time and counter out those flanks that I was mentioning before,
look at
this is certainly workable. They're even going to go for a plant attempt this early on as well here, supported by at least 2 members of the team. Where's the resistance from the defense? Well, there isn't any, unfortunately, and that means a clean plant once again goes down here against Team 1's Hookah defense.
That's only doable as OSA. What just happened there? Foxday hops directly into KDS. He still has a Nitro Cell, but Vertical's popping off. They also know KDS is downstairs. Well, Laxing does, and he's got a lot of bullets, my friend. Luckily enough, KDS will land his shots. Half HP up against 3 people here. I don't think he's going to get much farther, folks. He's going to try and run outside, kill the man off the verticality, but Vertical has actually already shifted gears. He's all the way on the ground, just holding the hop out here for Blue, but obviously with the newfound timer that we got in the last year, it's no longer 3 seconds for your runouts, it's 1 second instead, which means you can't be nearly as aggressive towards those repel players when you do run out. Oxygen find their mark, but they're going to have to do it again here as it's 7-7 on Coastline.
I think more than anything, KD has kind of realized what his fate was there. Might have just tossed in the towel, that chuck it out there real quick, hoping he could maybe get one more kill to pad his stats a bit, but the round was pretty much over at that point, as he would have had to make a full reascension up to the 2nd floor to even start the attempt to get back on that counter defuse as well. So good rebound from Oxygen, but again, it's only on that attacking side. The defense has been the problem area for both of our teams in this map, so they're going to have to find success on this 2nd attempt. It's going to be an additional upstairs hold from them as they'll head back to Hookah Billiards, where they'll look to finally try and control this for themselves to push forward.
Feeling pretty good about OSA right now in the current moment. I honestly really like this operator. I think it's pretty interesting, and especially the way that Oxygen are using it in the current moment. We've seen a decent amount of applications for her so far, not on like every single map.
I think it's going to be site dependent.
Yeah, I definitely think it's very site dependent as to when you can use her, or like if you want to manage windows or something like that. We saw her on Bank yesterday being used for that for the CEO windows. Also something you can do that's pretty interesting with her is she instantaneously pops barricades, so you can have somebody manage the window with you on like upside down rappel or something like that. You put the OSA shield there for just a split second, it breaks the whole thing, and best part about her is you still have that shield in front of your face. You don't just have to, go up to the window and then she applies it. You can hold it in your hands. So you just sit there and you're basically Blackbeard. They can't shoot you in the face, and well, the beauty of this one is it isn't just one bullet to break the damn thing.
Yep, absolutely the case. So Team 1 not going to bring the OSA, not necessarily feeling it themselves just as of yet here. A wild Nitro Cell coming out there inside of the first 5 seconds of the round. OXG just guessing with that one as Fox. They probably actually had some pulse info coming out to suggest that might have worked, but ultimately did not lead to a whole lot, as Team 1 was still a good 5 or so second walk away from that position.
He's trying to find these LATAM members a body bag as quickly as possible, as Foxday is not playing around this time. Could have been a possible kill here, as that will get busted, and I bet he really wants that Nitro Cell back, because that would have been a freebie if I have ever seen one, as Levy is still in the exact same spot that he was pulsed in outside, trying to manage that office area. So for Levy now, he's got a drone inside of this space. This is a decently common one in behind the bookshelf, but it's very hard to see because of the books in front of it. So just going to try and rotate out instead. He's going to give the freebie to Yaga. They mismanaged this. They don't even look at the hatch. Unfortunate now for Team 1 as they've lost Levy early on here.
That's so unfortunate again. Just shows the issues that Team 1 have been having. The drone and the general intel play from them has been great, but they're occasionally missing small details that's causing them to tunnel vision, however slightly, and waltz right into an opponent, as we just saw right there. KDS quickly exchanging it though, and that's the intel they had previously. Foxy hiding out over here inside of security. An easy pick for KDS as he evens us back out into a 4v4 once again.
Well, you have to be happy for Oxygen with how well they've done inside of this round. This is looking like it could go either way at the current moment. Alamau will be applying himself towards the billiards windows here, but Vertical obviously heard that rappel initially start, so he knows that this window break is more than likely coming soon. Are they ready for the verticality? He's looking the wrong way right now.
He'll realize it probably
on top of him. He's going to hop out, but no, Alamau immediately off the drone. How does he even manage that? Incredible stuff from the IGL of Team 1.
Not to mention, of course, great support coming in from his teammates to even expect that sort of a play there. Good stuff for the team that's hiding out over on the hookah balcony. Nades as well, going to do some serious damage to Yogg. It's not on the mark, but the second one should do it also. No, he backs away from it, tries to drop down, but KDS is ready for him. A second kill now lined up from him, and some excellent work being played out here from Team 1. Only 2 members of OXG remain here. Kino is in a tough position. He's getting ready for the cool vibe swing and is going to try to hold that back off against KDS. 30 seconds left here. You have to be expecting it sometime soon, and is really just waiting for Team 1 to make the next move, as unfortunately, Oxygen have no moves of their own left to play out.
Fortunately enough, Kino does have some space here and a huge nitro cell from Laxing. This is now doable. Still smokes out for Kino. The plant will start. They have the oversight. KDS is waiting for the back end. He's 20-8 in the current moment, and he continues to find his frags. Kino knows that one's behind him. He has to land this shot, but with the SMG-11 in hand, very low ammo count on this. He sees the white hair of Yana dancing back and forth. KDS will close it out. That's 21 kills for him on this coastline, where Team 1 start down 5-1 and bring it all the way back into overtime.
22 kills, in fact.
22? Oh
by
my
KDS.
God.
So some good stuff from him. And overall, for the entire team, what a comeback. What a blunder, unfortunately, for OXG. Once again, a massive lead built up for them, but just like the Damwon series yesterday, unable to translate it into a win. It goes the full distance, all 15 rounds in overtime. But Team 1 are victorious, only taking control of the lead as we enter in overtime as well. Beautiful stuff from the Latin American squad. They're going to be feeling great about themselves, and as we just saw OXG, they're not feeling so great. So they're going to have to very quickly look for a rebound, as we're going to get prepared to head to Oregon for map number 2.
Absolutely, my friend. And during this break, Oxygen has quite a bit to think about. But for us folks, we want to get into map 2, and hopefully this doesn't limit their time. But we are going to a break in the moment. We will see you guys in just a split second.
back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the Six Invitational 2022 group stage, where we just saw another heartbreaking loss for Oxygen there, and a big party, as it seems, for the Team 1 roster. Shout out to our production team as well. That music, very fitting to the feelings of Team 1 right now, as they had a massive comeback. Started out the first half down 1-5, and managed to swing it back in overtime, taking it in round 15, 8-7 on Coastline. Now getting prepared to jump onto OXG's pick of Oregon.
I'm feeling a sense of deja vu from Oxygen's previous series from Damwon Gaming Kia. I know we referenced it inside of the map, but I didn't really think that it would come to fruition yet again, especially with Oxygen having such a large lead on their side of the coin, 5-1 coming in to their defensive side, but they simply could not get anything going except for the penthouse defense, which they still couldn't get going when they got into overtime. It's very unfortunate for Oxygen, as it was offender-sided Coastline like we're used to seeing.
KDS obviously a big part of the puzzle here for Team 1 at 22-8, a massive map overall for him, but it wasn't just him, of course, even though, again, 93% cost, it's hard to argue otherwise, obviously, and a 3-0 entry ratio. We saw Alamau, of course, having his own good stuff happening from time to time on the defensive end, but oftentimes it wouldn't translate to much, and you could say the same for Levy, as he was playing his heart out, specifically inside of those billiards holds right there, playing behind the minibar, trying to fend off all of those attacks from Oxygen, but not leading to a whole lot. A 1.72 rating as well for our top player in KDS. He's really come alive this series, and that may have been exactly what Team 1 needed here to push forward, push past Oxygen, and push themselves into a high-placing seed to top out this group.
That's a little high. That's a little high when it comes to Siege. I can't remember the last time I saw a 1.72. I think the closest that I've seen so far is like a 1.51, which, I mean, still is insane for Siege, but what a game from KDS. And if he's bringing that same energy into Oregon, this could be pretty damaging to Oxygen. I'm excited to get into this map, and I'm sure that Team 1 are as well, but you have to be thinking and considering the headspace of Oxygen in the current moment, especially with the series that we just talked about before, happening yesterday against Damwon Gaming Kia. This is looking a lot like the same show. They do not want a repeat of yesterday. They desperately need points at this moment. And for Oxygen, there's a lot riding on SI this year. They were very confident coming into this. And as of right now, it's just not looking like it's coming through.
They've already dealt with one loss like this, so it's once again going to be a familiar feeling for this team, but one that they will quickly have to get over. Otherwise, could be at the deficit of another series. Yeah, they've got the 3 points earlier on from the clean victory they had versus Na'Vi on day 1, but very quickly are starting to falter in those points because of their potential consecutive losses now to both Damwon yesterday, and if things go for the worst here, a possible 0-2 versus Team 1. Now again, the map record looks perfectly fine for OXG as they get ready to jump into Oregon. Not only do they have a nearly flawless record on this over the previous few months, but when you consider again just how often their opponents have banned this map out against them, it's certainly one to be feared. But considering it's Oregon, Team 1 shouldn't have too much of an issue contending against that, as they'll be feeling quite comfortable here as well, with a little over 60% of an overall round win ratio for our Latin American representatives in this match.
Yeah, a little scary when it comes down to it, but for Oxygen, they have looked quite strong on this map as well. For their Oregon, it's a 65% win rate, so you can argue it either way, but you'd probably be representing your flag whenever you did so. As for you and I, though, we're here to have a good time, John. Do we really care at the end of the day who wins this? Nah, we're casters, folks. We're here to give you our energy so we can all get excited. And let me tell you, I am indeed excited. Team 1 versus Oxygen starts up once again here on Oregon.
Let's get into it, as the bans are going to be pretty straightforward here, to be honest with you, to start things out. Thatcher, you guys know the tale at this point. Don't think we need to explain that.
Thatcher? Why would you ban Thatcher? He's not even broke.
Dare you?
I'm just going to stop right there before somebody just takes that one out of context. That is a completely broken character when it comes down to a lot of the things you can get away with on the offensive side. The funniest thing, though, about Thatcher is whenever he really is in play, people still don't really play him that much because you're just not used to having him. You're used to having other things inside of the lineup. But Flores also going to be banned out here from Oxygen. That's a very, very strong ban, even though they will be starting on the offensive side and hindering themselves. Not having Flores in is a very big deal for the defensive end of this coin. Valkyrie also going to be removed. That one's pretty self-explanatory, just like Thatcher. Lots of info coming in, and then Team 1 also going to ban Warden. That honestly means that we're more than likely going to see a decent amount of Ying play coming into this.
Absolutely the case. Possibility for some hefty smoke usage as well there, where he would be a great counter towards that. So an interesting band to say the least here, but one that we could certainly see how Team 1 is going to play. Once again, bit of a self-handicap because they're going to be starting out on the defensive end of things, but not one that Oxygen I don't think is going to be able to immediately read into and change up their own playstyle to too hefty of a degree. Let's get into it though and take a look, as immediately there is the Ying pick for Fox A, but it is going to get 6 picked away towards a Maverick, interestingly enough here. Once again, adding a little bit of that extra hard breach, allowing them to clear the hatchwork more than anything a little bit earlier on, and then saving those pellets to potentially open up some of the walls to get deeper into the site as well.
Well, as we open things up for the very first time on Oregon, open for business now as Team 1 will be headed downstairs for our very first defense. Let's look across this defensive lineup and see exactly what they're bringing to the table, shall we? It looks like they're going to have the regular cast of characters, all except for really Lesion. That's not one that we really see too often down here, but Lesion's also got a bulletproof now, so he'll be able to at least get some extra info past just his goo mines as well, which are pretty annoying at the end of the day. You have to go through a full animation to get them out. You can't sprint. You take damage over time. You can't plant. There's a lot of different ways that they can possibly thwart your plans if you step onto them at the wrong time. The good news is just like back in, well, it used to be back in the day, you got a good amount of information from them because you could see all of them through walls. Now you can only see them when you are within line of sight. So a little bit of nerf in that sense, but that's been in for forever. He's just overall a pretty solid trap operator that you can use in a myriad of different ways. As of right now for Team 1, it looks like they want to apply him to the roam as he will be occupying the dorm space upstairs.
Slow clear to start things out here, though. Not going to be hugely eventful. We've always got Lagonis on the swing, ready to potentially catch someone if they walk past him, but no one to be caught here. And once again, Team 1 have to potentially contend with the fallback eventually from Lagonis. He's supporting himself, obviously, with these goo mines, but in terms of player support, he doesn't have a whole lot here, so he's going to need to be very cautious about when he chooses to fall back, as he's going to be left in the open. No possibility for one of his teammates to help him out. He's all on his lonesome out here. Thankfully for him, though, OXG's pressure seems to be mainly contained to the big tower at this point, as they're getting ready to barrel down those back steps and put pressure on the site through that method. Lots of first floor pressure still present here for Team 1 as well, so OXG kind of limited in where they can move at this point, being stopped from opening up the hatchwork and all that as well. Certainly going to be good work from Team 1 to bleed out some of this time bank, the first minute at least. And KDS trying to get aggressive here, but pre-fires far too early, giving himself away and forcing him right back down.
Lagonis has worked his way into Kitchen on the other end of things, so we'll have to see exactly what's going on with that. Is he's more than likely just going to play patiently for Oxygen and start working over towards Freezer. But as you said, they're really focused on this tower side right now and this construction take. This is what we've seen from Oxygen time and time again. This is the routine lineup that they do end up running. Just stack up these grenades. 8 grenades being brought here for Oregon, folks. They want to make sure that they get these players out of these hotly contested spaces like Pillar as well as Elbow. Some nice shots here, but nothing really landing from both sides. They both spray wide around the stairwell. That could have very well been a kill for KDS yet again after that burner of a game that he had on Coastline, but just nothing happening early here. It'll actually be Yaga to strike first. He'll take down KDS in one of the harder to reach spaces at the bottom of the tower stairs.
He's going to work their way in and start to do some good work here. A little bit of intel coming in from the Gemini drone. Catches Levy in his position, but he's got a lot of different positions he could potentially play from here. Here's going to be the issue, though. The drop now coming in hot. They haven't cleared him out as of yet here. Seemingly unaware, disregarding his position as well. So Levy just goes for a straight 2. Alamau now punching in with the M590 as he finds Fox A and OXG are shell their former selves, but they're not out of it just yet, especially with that pick from Laxing as he's able to find Levy and even out the numbers once more here. 30 seconds left, so because they went for the early drop, they've got time to contain this situation, re-grab case control, and then move back in against the 2 remaining members of Team 1. It's up to Alamau and Neskin from that side of things to clutch it out deeper in the site. Neskin maybe want to try to get aggressive here. He still has the position outside of construction, so he can swing around these guys and go for a flank. Yogg as well, so much damage from the smoke. He just barely makes it through that and keeps himself alive, and with less than 10 seconds left here, they're forced to go for the plant. All the pressure now on Laxing to fend this off. It's going to be a pinch from both sides. Laxing needs to catch the construction play, and no, they're going to be able to stop the plant, so Team 1 win it on the timer.
All of that damage coming into Yaga and his missed decision inside that moment. He didn't know if he wanted to try and sprint out of that smoke and possibly die to somebody holding an angle or back out towards E-Box. The decision wasn't clear cut. He takes so much damage inside of that situation, and well, as well as Levy being inside of Pillar, this was not really looking like an Oxygen round. Yeah, they get it down to the 2 versus 2, but just not decisive in what they wanted there. Very unfortunate, especially with them misreading the clear on Pillar and Levy getting away with way too much.
So Levy once again being the hero of Team 1 here, specifically on the defense, pulls out a heroic effort to put the team ahead at 1-0 here and get a nice smooth hold onto the basement here. Yeah, the numbers are relatively close, but especially as we came down to the timing situation, you guys saw it. The smokes, the gas grenades have been barely choked out from Team 1's last few players there, so they still had that to really limit the potential for Oxygen, and more specifically for Yaga, as he tried to work his way in for the plant, and unfortunately had such low HP. Laxing as well, trying to position himself as best as he could to fend off that 2-player pinch at the end of the round, but really just could not find a winning angle no matter which way he positioned himself.
Well, now for Team 1, they'll be headed towards kitchen and cafeteria. You have two options when it comes to your kitchen site. You can either go for cafeteria or for the meeting space here. As for this one, it's going to be priority that they hold onto the showers area. That's where we're going to see Team 1 applying a healthy amount of utility into this space so that they can try and keep their players alive and contest it for as long as possible before auction inevitably start busting things down and trying to get this plant. So here inside of round 2, Oxygen looking to bounce back. They usually have a pretty healthy offensive side, I would say, here for Oregon, and not really starting off on the right foot.
Yeah, like we said, the record looking pretty good for these guys up until recent times, so signs of struggle starting to show, and it seems Team 1 capitalizing on that, at least for the first round here. The indecision costing them, as even though they are able to get an early execute going for themselves, with extended presence being out in the early round from Team 1 as well, they are not able to get themselves onto the site with an appropriate amount of time, and even kind of haphazardly went for that E-drop as well that we saw around the 1-minute mark there, leaving them open to being harassed by, specifically Levy, playing over by the pillar. The ignorance of that cost them heftily, so they're going to have to quickly adjust the playstyle to avoid situations like that in the future. And of course, another big run being made from Team 1. Nice data as it actually does catch as a yokai drone in the middle of the site there, so that's a big piece of the defensive utility now gone from play. Of course, there'll be a second one available for Lagonis, but no longer have the insurance policy of a backup.
Oh, Laxing, just by a hair missing the pre-fire that he was desperately looking for on the tower stairs. Obviously, Team 1 showing face. In a certain sense, you kind of got to think about Rainbow Six in sort of an X-ray way. There's a lot of different ways you can end up getting picks through walls, or you're going to shoot people straight up. Oh no, KDS is going to get the pick, but it looks like things might actually end up and crash here. So we'll more than likely have to get this figured out here, folks. Might be a replay here for round 2, and yeah, that's definitely going to be a head and hands moment here for Alamau. Is more than likely you guys will be coming back to us here for just a split second. That's very unfortunate for Team 1 as they got really far ahead inside of that round with a kill that they got onto Yaga, simply because Yaga's Finka, that's not only nades off the board, that's also the adrenal surge is gone. It's just very unfortunate they won't be able to play that one out.
All right, so give us a sec here, folks. We are just going to quickly work on getting things reset very quickly. Fortunately, the server did seem to knock our players out as well, so like Stokes was mentioning, more than likely going to end up replaying that round. It sucks, but that's the fairest outcome, unfortunately, in a situation like that where the server falls out from under us. They're going to just replay that round, with the advantage still being in the favor of Team 1, obviously, with the 1-0 advantage, but they will have to replay everything up until that point.
All right, everybody, collectively, just take a breath with me. It is what it is, okay? We're just going to leave it there. It happens, all right? And luckily enough, knock on wood, it's not going to happen again. We've been very fortunate this tournament with our land build and how, strong it has been. So hopefully the rest of this game will go off cleanly. But for those NA fans at home, count your lucky stars, because luckily enough for Yaga, apparently he meant so much to the game that he crashed it. So very fortunate for them as they will get away with that one and be able to try and regress this time around here inside of round 2.
I like how we're like, yeah, NA's back in it, baby. The server crashed. I think we got another chance.
Oh, man.
Yeah, obviously it is, a little bit of a boon towards them, but we'll see how that'll potentially change up the play. Pretty sure as well that we'll more than likely be forcing our players to lock in the same operators and everything like that, so that is going to give a little bit.
If not, I will have a word with Larpy as quickly as possible, because that is exactly what should be happening.
That is going to give a little bit of an edge over towards our potential attackers here, as they'll already have a pretty good idea as to what the site setup is going to look like here. As it was on the first floor site, it's important to note that one once again, as we'll have to wait and see how they potentially might try to change up the internal site positioning and whatnot. They might try to switch things around a little if they have a secondary strategy for that, but once more favoring Oxygen slightly as a result of the fact that OXG has already seen the setup in sight.
Yeah, well, the good news is for Team 1 is that they're pretty unorthodox in the way that they like to play their defense.
Especially early and mid rounds too, so it didn't really do anything for that.
Exactly, so it really doesn't change anything up in that manner, just because they usually aggress in a myriad of different ways. So I'm not really too worried about it for the LATAM squad. I'm not sweating it all. For Oxygen, again, count your lucky stars, because because this is something that you're desperately going to need. This is also technically attack timeout for them, as they'll be able to talk on the bench. They won't be able to talk to their coach, so they're going to be able to at least reset here and come back into this. We'll have to see what they can possibly get done. Could we see a change up in, operator selection later on down the line? Not in this round, obviously, but we could see something come through a little later on. You and I are still definitely expecting that Ying pick to come through eventually, just simply because Warden is off the board. Oxygen, personally, I think, need to really abuse this whilst they can, because Team 1 is definitely going to do so on their side.
Actually, I just think you bring up the Ying play, because that could have been a difference maker as well for that basement assault, specifically
Absolutely.
for the E-drop they went for right there. If they were able to properly mitigate out the utilities, such as the Jaeger devices, as well as potentially any other utility mitigation that might have been in that previous round for Team 1, those Yings would have blinded out Levy, would have prevented the immediate trades coming back in from Pillar there, and stopped the player's insight from doing anything about that Roth as well. That's solid control and suddenly gained for Oxygen, and a potential player advantage as well once they work their way in there. Could have been a very different outcome to that round if that went that way.
Is it just me, or are you surprised that they didn't nade stack into pillars either? With those two people managing the E-box hatch, I would just assume that they would both line up, just start bouncing nades in there until everything is clear, and then drop down, even on top of the Ying situation. But we didn't see that either. That definitely could have assisted them in a certain capacity if they were able to clear out all that utility, but
I'm trying to remember if it was Levy or KDS that pushed up the stairs. Like that.
KDS pushed up the stairs and missed some shots.
If I had to throw a wild guess out there, maybe they thought with KDS pulling back, because he was not in that pillar position when they went for the drop, and maybe they saw that but didn't catch Levy for some weird reason.
Well,
he was out in
KDS, if you remember from construction.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
That was Yaga's nade.
So again, it's weird to me.
It's very weird.
Why they wouldn't, because they should have been able to spot Levy with
Absolutely.
How much, and he did get spotted by a drone right before they went for that drop.
Yes.
Dude, that was the other part that's kind of weird to me, and I just remembered that too. So bit of a strange one from OXG, but again, that's way in the past at this point. So let's start talking about this round once again. Like I said before, it's going to be a rerun, and it's going to be forcing our players back into the same exact operators here. So a bit of a second chance for Oxygen to reinvigorate themselves and try to come back into this one for a tie.
All right, Yaga. Watch your head this time, all right? Make sure it's OSHA approved, okay? We want to make sure you stay alive this time around. He's going to begin things upstairs. A little pre-fire here off of a yellow ping. We have been talking about these quite a bit. Specifically on Twitter, not that much on cast, but yellow ping along with frag grenades has been the real reason we've been seeing a lot of these different frag grenade kills, as well as these pretty interesting moments where we're seeing a lot of wall bangs or just people getting instantly obliterated whenever they get peeked, simply because of the amount of info that you can get from these drones. These things have always been worth their weight in gold. I mean, you can even up the price now with yellow ping. It is truly insane. If you are not keeping your drones and using them to your advantage in Siege, you are already playing the game wrong. Please, please, please do not drive your drones into sight and just give them to your opponent. You're losing the game for your team. You're just losing the game. So please make sure that
I gotta be the first to ping the site so I get 50 points.
Yeah, right? It's like if you hear noise around the building and you know where the sites are inside the building, everything should be fine past that. But we'll shut up for the moment here as things are starting to get spicy inside a shower. It's gonna be a forced push from Oxygen. Kino cleans out two. Vertical lands a nade. This is looking like a much better round, although Yaga still loses his life. Laxing will manage the bottom of White Stairs and take down Levy, and Oxygen are looking to get their first round.
Yeah, OXG, the rerun, certainly favoring them in this circumstance here. The nades chucked against Lagonis, a little bit late for that, however, so he's at least able to get one exchange. Runs upstairs to hopefully maybe line up a counter to the planter, but he's far too late for that. Already down on the ground. The planter themselves already long gone here, and Flash is now being dumped below that hatch to prevent Lagonis from getting any useful intel out of this one. This one is, for the most part, done and dusted as he's going to try to re-descent back downstairs and immediately be caught up by the planter himself. Kino shuts this one down for OXG, and they tie us up at 1-1. Come on, don't leave him hanging. Don't leave him there. All right, the coach got him. Good enough.
There you go, Yaga. Yaga's dialed in, man. He was like, man, I died that first time. I crashed the server. I died again, but we got the round. Okay, I really need to figure this out for myself here. I can't keep dying as Finka. So, and honestly, he really can't. We really want to see Yaga staying alive in these moments because of how important adrenal surges are to your team. If you guys are League of Legends players, this will make a lot of sense to you because having extra health really, really means a lot. Now, the thing about Siege is obviously you can kill people with one shot to the head, but when it comes to body shots and stuff like that, having that extra bullet's worth of HP can mean so much to a gunfight, John, especially in a day where a lot of guns do quite a bit of damage. Not so much on the defensive side. We've been seeing some discussion about that on Twitter, but, it is what it is when it comes down to it. If you're able to stay alive simply because somebody gave you an extra 25 HP, I mean, that means a lot to the overall round.
Right, so things will move onwards for Team 1 here. Like we talked about earlier, went for a bit of an interesting site choice for the second round back over inside of Cafeteria. And now going to be going towards something a bit more expected here as we see them work up towards the second floor hold inside of Kids to try and leverage their own second round. Unfortunately, things just did not work out for them back downstairs in the Cafeteria play. In terms of operator selection, once again, nothing too out of the ordinary. Obviously, you guys probably noticed Lagonis over there on the Ella. Not going to be such a meta pick necessarily. We've been seeing quite a bit of Ella inside of this specific series, and I think for this specific site, she will fit fine in that roaming role that Lagonis is more than likely going to play into.
All right, well, with round 3 kicking off now, it'll be the Kids Dorms defense with a pretty interesting shield placement here for the B site. Pretty easily abusable from the Dorms window, but we don't really see that occupied too often. It definitely does happen, but it just depends on the team really and the situation that they want to go for. So now Oxygen out and about on the map here as Lax going to be starting things off towards the master balcony. An angle that I have fallen in love with over the years here, that upside down rappel to be able to manage trophy is a beautiful one here. Is, well, they can only see, well, you can only see their ways. They really can't see you at all. It's a perfect spot to be able to assist your hard breach inside of this area, especially when you have those magnified scopes. It just makes things a heck of a lot easier for you inside of that space. Vertical as well as Yaga, both downstairs though, over towards the small tower area. Currently inside of the showers hall as Yaga propels himself up the White Hall. No info really inside of this area for him right now. Surprised that there's really no Grizz mod inside of this area, but it might be at the top of the stairwell. Instead, it'll be the Banshee here, and it'll clear out that utility just for later on.
Just quickly correct myself too, I said Lagonis was going to be on roam duty. Obviously not the case as he picked up the FO12. I missed that, so instead he's going to be the Hatch Guardian from the looks of things here. With that shotgun, you're able to play it out at close range, just overwhelm your opponents with a massive shotgun pellets here if they try to come within close enough range towards you. OXG, in the meanwhile, now halfway through the round and trying to work up some position, specifically towards the white stairs there, to set themselves up to begin working into the site. Foxy as well, looking to swing himself over here closer towards the kitchen, but once again, finding it a bit difficult to hop in there just because of the potential threat from either side, whether he stays outside the player from down on top, or up on top, excuse me, tries to throw pressure from about the window, or if he goes directly inside the players, there might catch him. And speaking of catching people, Yaga absolutely knocking out Lagonis. We will see no Ella play in this round. The Yings as well starting to flood the window. Unfortunately, no one's really home for this. It's going to affect the Attic players more than anyone, but KDS able to catch the first. There's an immediate exchange from Laxing as he's not only able to take out Levy, but KDS too. Neskin now comes alive. This downstairs player that we've been waiting to see, but only for that one pick. He goes down to Kino, and Laxing cleans up shop with a triple on the round, as now it's a 2-1 lead for Oxygen.
Laxing looks over at Kino and he's like, yeah, I'm about it. You see that right there? That was a triple kill for me, baby. Very well done from Laxing on that round. They desperately needed him to do exactly what he did there. Apply the pressure to Team 1, allow Kino to hop into the window, and get that plant down inside of dorms. The smoke almost caught him. He was very low HP as that toxic bag was ticking him away when he hopped inside of the window, but that wasn't really anything past it that Team 1 could really do. All of their angles shut down. Kino even able to manage the bottom of white stairs through the verticality that was created by Team 1. So there was a lot of opportunity there for OXG. As for Team 1, it's back to the drawing board, and more importantly, it's back downstairs where they found their first successful round.
Right, so indeed, we'll see if Team 1 can leverage the same degree of success that we saw from them on the first attempt here. OXG going to bring a very similar, and I think actually the same exact lineup as the first attempt as well. So still not going to be feeling the Ying potential here for the basement play. We'll have to see if the intel is going to be a bit better built up this time, as they missed a couple of very important steps there when they tried to traverse down into the basement on the first round. It ended up costing them dearly, forcing them into a very tense 2v2 that did not end up panning out in their favor. Still ultimately a close round, one that I think Team 1 had relatively good control over, even inside of that clutch.
Well, now for Team 1, defense being set up here. Still going to have the bulletproof on Lagonis as well for that extra insight alongside those goo mines. All of Oxygen going to be spawning over here for the construction side. It's going to be quite the interesting round here. They'll have the nade stack yet again. 8 grenades coming into this one, John, and we want to see that nade stack coming in through E-Box on this. They need to manage the pillar area. They need to clear it out before they push downstairs. Otherwise, face what they did the last time. Will it be Levy this time around? We don't really know, but it could be any of the masked men here for Team 1 inside of this. Vertical now going to be claiming the space at the bottom of tower. Do have one Team 1 member all the way off in Narnia Narnia in the current moment. It's going to be Levy over inside of Kitchen. Lagona's also upstairs, so a little makeshift roam here for Team 1 just to keep the pressure nice and warm here onto Oxygen. Looks like they actually have the E-Box space open here. Let me see if that hatch is popped. I do believe it is for Neskin. It is indeed. So we'll have that drone there as well, or rather disc, to be able to assist him if anything does go wrong. But you can see how Team 1 have wrapped themselves around Oxygen here. They're only allowing them to have the tower space for the time being.
A small amount of control going over towards our attackers, but as to be expected considering the site we are playing into. As you mentioned, though, lots of other areas even contained outside of the basement that are going to be hard to fight for here, and actually it's looking like OXG going to try to play in for construction relatively early on, still trying to go over that advanced, or rather early execute inside of this first minute and a half of the round, and this is good too because it leaves them with the extra time that they had to potentially still win that first round back inside of the 2v2 clutch. If they were going for that attack with only 30 seconds left, it would have never even gotten that far and would have seen an even more successful hold from Team 1. So here they go. The pressure mainly building up into construction right now. It'll be a 3-player push. Only really 2 from Team 1 that can realistically fend this off. And they don't seem too keen on taking the fight, especially when they have a gas grenade to chuck back out there and block it off.
I am getting very, very scared for Oxygen in the moment. They're able to get one frag grenade and another one. Neskin will dip off, but a little bit earlier more than likely could have assisted him, as Yago will be able to get one, but he immediately gets traded out by the SMG-11. Such a damning SMG in the proper hands, and it happens to be Alamao's this time around. Team 1 starting to fight back. Foxay has the management here for the door. They step up inside of construction, but he's not watching it enough. They'll lose Kino. KDS ends up trading himself out as we go into the 3 versus 3. Laxing tossing nades down into pillars. Vertical's trying to assist him with that, but nobody's home now. Levy inside of Freezer with Alamau moving his way into elbow. Look at this from Team 1. This is so properly set up. Oxygen have to try and get a plant here soon.
OXG once again down, but not out of this situation here. Dropping in the rest of their players. They've got pillar control, but once again have to negotiate for site control with an incredibly limited amount of time. No additional toxic bays, but we do have the shotgun. It's going to hold construction for our defenders, and he's going to be able to wrap with it as well. Vertical now alone, and the shotgun gets it all done. Apparently, Alamau with the triple wraparound going all the way through the backside of the site to shut down the rest of the play from Oxygen.
The smoke player inside of elbow might be the most important position to play on this setup. It makes or breaks your site. Obviously, things can go wrong and you can still win the round. You can have a player from Freezer all the way back in sight, do something and be able to get away with enough to win you the round. But when it comes down to that elbow position and what you can get done with it, if you get things going like this, there's really no way to slow it down. Perfectly executed there from Alamau, simply waiting for someone to step up to the plate. Laxing, a little bit of a misplay there, just stepping up inside of elbow. He knows that somebody has that shotgun there simply because he has to. He knows they didn't take out the smoke player, and he's going to lose his life in grand fashion.
So back over towards the first floor hold, interestingly enough, for Team 1 as they're going to try to play into this one. To be fair to them, we didn't see success on either this hold or the upstairs site, so it's kind of their pick of the litter in terms of which one they want to reattempt. They're feeling it was a bit closer on this hold, and I would generally tend to agree. We're going to see as well here that Ella, just in case anybody got confused about it, did not end up getting locked in. I thought it did, so just for those who might have been thrown off by it, looks like Lagona's ended up sticking with the Echo, so we'll see that left in play here. And those Yokai drones that were present on the last attempt are going to stay in the fold for the second one as well.
Well, looking at Oregon's defensive win rate thus far for the LAN, obviously before today, 55% overall defensive win rate. We've had 10 plays so far. It's the third most played map that we've had, and the downstairs area has a 54% win rate. Funny enough, it is the most played site at 56, but with 13 plays, Meeting Hall Kitchen takes the cake at a 62%. Obviously a huge discrepancy inside of sample size, but still something worth talking about, as it usually is our third site that we see inside of their site triangle whenever it comes to the defensive end. Yaga will once again, we're going back to the same site that they attacked before in this capacity. It's going to be kitchen cafeteria. He'll start off in the exact same way, moving his way up into small tower and starting to destroy the floor just a little bit.
Things continuing to go swimmingly here so far for our defenders. Not that they've really been challenged all that much as of yet here. OXG still building up the really beginnings of their opening gambit and their opening play to start moving in, primarily through the showers here. As you're going to see the X-Kairos 4 pellets in fact use to pop that open and give them a window to challenge behind the small locker stack in the middle of the room. No one there from Team 1 at this point. They're all going to be playing from the outside in yellow hallway. They'll very quickly be losing a large amount of their support to that Banshee position in the middle of the hallway to potentially slow down the attacker's progress now gone. That second volley of X-Kairos charge is going to be going out to really open up a window to work their way into lockers. Although they've more than likely confirmed via a drone, there's actually no one playing to the inside of it currently, meaning they can push it for the most part scot-free, only really having to worry about swings from the actual doorway leading into the room. And Aid gonna get chucked towards that doorway in the meanwhile, and nearly catching Alamo. A little bit off the mark though. Unfortunately, he's a bit too far away from the rotation into the room itself.
Unfortunate for him, but a positive boon here for Team 1 is Oxygen going to be re-aggressing inside of the space. Laxing doing his best rat as he possibly can. He'll move across the map and come in from Garage instead after Kino gets taken down. Foxay will land one onto Lagonis. Alamau starting to push himself forward as the plant starts. Yaga's got the Overwatch. Neskin able to take down Laxing on the back end as well. The plant will go through for Foxay. Those were launched into the 3 versus 3. Oxygen starting to pull ahead here. Currently at the 2-2 scoreline, looking for their third. Neskin, as well as KDS, starting to push up on the bathroom side. Foxay to take down Levy. He had such very low HP, but now Neskin with a beautiful shot. Obviously, knowing that both of the remaining members of Oxygen are outside, this is going to be hotly contested here as they have to hop inside. Neskin with one.
Counter.
Can he get the quad? No, he can't. He'll be able to get both of them. Foxay with a beautiful 180 as that timer was dwindling on that case.
Yeah, pretty sure less than a second left on KDS's counter defuse, but Foxay far too quick on the transition. He shuts it down instead as Neskin just barely runs out of gas as we get towards the end of that round there. A lead built up here for Oxygen because of the off-site choices from Team 1. Their basement play, phenomenal. They've had no problem holding on to that. Outside of that, though, it's been all Oxygen all day so far, with 3 wins on all of those sites. And in fact, Team 1 not even going to feel like they potentially could favor going back upstairs. They're instead going to switch up towards the other first floor site and play into a meeting room hold instead.
I'm a big fan of the meeting hall defense. I think it's a pretty interesting one in the overarching story of Rainbow Six Siege. Just with the ways you can simply play the site. You can play it upstairs with the meeting hatch open, keep some bodies up there to make sure that the offense can't try and get in up top and really get some pressure around that area to try and get a plant on stage. You can also have some bodies down low to potentially toss some nitro cells up through the E-box hatch and prevent that from happening. We also see some offensive strategy going in towards kitchen and trying get plants on the single panel wall and things like that. There's a lot of interesting ways that this can end up breaking down, so I'm here for it. Can Oxygen pull ahead on the offensive side here and put us up 4-2?
But we're going to be finding out very, very shortly as we'll be heading into it, and once again, OXG's depth inside of this second map of the series is going to be tested as they'll have to play out their attack on a 4th consecutive site here. All of them being tested out. The fact is, every single site will be trialed at a minimum by Team 1 as we enter the final round of the half here. In terms of operator utility, once again, things are going to be fairly predictable here as we get a whole bunch of both intel as well as utility mitigation. The Banshees to slow down wild assaults into the site. And on top of that, we've got the Evil Eyes coming out from Lagonis for some good intel on top of a very, very prominent primary weapon that he'll be certainly using as well.
The 81. I love that we're starting to refer to all of the LMGs by the amount of bullets that are inside of it. We got the 150, we got the 81. I've honestly been calling Finka's gun the 100. I mean, we have so many options here inside of our LMGs that we've been seeing across the board. And speaking of which, Yaga will have the 100 that we were talking about. And Foxay will actually have one of my personal favorite LMGs in the game, the T95, as they'll be bringing Ying into the game here for the second time. They used it on their dorms execute the last time. This time it'll be into the meeting kitchen defense, which still will have very similar applications. I mean, Candelas are pretty straightforward. You toss them into sight, they roly-poly-oly for a little bit, and then they just launch stuns literally everywhere at different levels. So pretty easy to be blinded out by those if you're on the defense. And obviously, she's got some pretty fancy glasses, so she can make pushes on top of that.
To the Alda now prepped and ready to go in the hands of Lagonis, focusing primarily on front side pressure, but he can swing back out from the site connector and very accurately challenge the play, working itself in here as well. Gonna attempt to use the Gone 6 to take out the Evil Eye, but instead gonna have to follow it up with a frag grenade here as unfortunately the Gone 6 gets snagged away by a magnet. Good news is, again, plenty of frags available. You guys know the meta right now. We've got so many of them inside of it. It's not gonna have any issue at all dealing with that utility. And Aid chucked at Lagonis, but he sees it coming and is able to dodge out of the way, but a second one might be on its way as well. And that one strikes true from Laxing as he takes him down. No additional support for Lagonis to play out from that position, so not able to do anything about Laxing's position, nor the plant here, as Kino and Laxing pick up 2 2 additional kills. The first response finally in from Team 1, but it might just be too little too late here, as we're already down to 30 seconds on the counter defuse timer. KDS actually on top of it here. Can sneak up towards it, try to sneak the full thing in, but no, won't work out. KDS allowed to swing and get one more kill, but that is it. OXG shut it down after that and secure another round for themselves.
Pretty sneaky defusal spot there for just a split second, but just simply did not have the manpower to be able to get that one to go through. It's going to be a 4-2 half for Oxygen as they will right their wrongs. Initial round looking a little scary, but post, technical timeout, we'll call it, things are looking pretty good. For Team 1, things are going to be switching up as they'll be on the offensive side now. Unfortunately enough for them, they did not do too much on this defensive half. This, as of right now, is looking like Oxygen's map to lose. Obviously, this is their pick, and that would mean that we'd be headed to Bank, but not if Team 1 has anything to say about it. Obviously, they banned the Warden inside of this one, and wouldn't you know it, John, we're going to get Ying in the first round.
Not only that, but the last map was kind of Oxygen's map to lose as well, and
you didn't have to say that.
I mean, they lost it. So.
They did lose it after being 5-1 on the initial half. But, I mean, who's counting?
Pretty sure from the attacking side as well.
Bum, bum, bum,
just reminding people, temper your expectations. All I'm trying to say here.
Absolutely.
As OXG are going to look for a quick closeout once again, but as we saw back on Coastline, it's not as easy as it sometimes may appear here. Team 1 looking to bounce back into this one, and once again, seems like they were planning quite a bit for this half with the Warden ban, so I'm very curious to see how well that's going to pan out.
That's exactly what I was going to say, actually, is up against Team 1, you can kind of give them the benefit of the doubt, especially when KDS went on an absolute heater. 22 kills across Coastline, and usually we highlight that map as like, how at the beginning it says bomb-TDM? You can kind of just scrape away bomb and just put TDM, because that's what Coastline is at the end of the day. Unless you're Oxygen, I guess. They had some very successful plans with that OSA setup, but that's for another time, folks. We're about 20 seconds in now here as Team 1 have already progressed into Small Tower. Obviously, we've already talked about this lineup a little bit, but they're going to be going for the full map clear. This is something that we did not see Oxygen do the entire time of their offensive half.
Just waiting himself out on the outside area right now, trying to see if any shenanigans might be present for OXG in the front lobby. Not looking like it, as OXG play heavily into their basement setup. Not a single member of the team, as far as I can tell, trying to play out above that point and waste the time of OXG, or waste the time of Team 1 here. No even position in security for that usual just kind of fallback we see after the first minute or so inside of that position from the freezer hatch. So going to be a pretty uneventful first minute or two of this round due to the nature of how OXG is playing this defense here. That does allow as well for Team 1 to set up all the execute potential they would like and really take as much time as they would like to do that setup here, as there'll be pretty much zero pressure against them from Oxygen until they make the descent down into the basement.
Absolutely, my friend. Well, Oxygen obviously going to have to play pretty patiently and wait for Team 1 to push into them on the defensive setup. Some pre-fires and other things around, as well as some utility exchange going back and forth. A frag grenade that could possibly bag them a kill, and it will, as Yaga steps way too close to the sun, and he will be burned, as he will go down yet again. The top frag here from the last map, starting off at 4 and 5, and being the first blood here on the defensive side. Doesn't look too good for Oxygen in the current moment, but, I mean, they still have a lot of utility to go through, and with a minute remaining, Team 1 still have a lot of headway to make. Still some ADSs and other things to catch things, as well as the Grishmont mine that could possibly do some damage, but Kino swings wide as he smokes off the staircase. Another frag grenade finding a kill, and yet again, looks like Team 1 could possibly get something done here. A Nitro Cell out, but Alamau's already made his move with those Candelas to drop, just like we saw the time before. Lagonos will get eaten alive inside a freezer from Laxing. Hey, good catch there, Alamau, before he tosses that out. Got to get rid of that ADS so he can get the Candelas out. They will not be picked up. Another one going to be coming in here, and he sets him up to go off instantaneously. Has one in the corner, be able to take him down, switches back over to the elbow transition. This is what we like to see out of our Ying players. But now Laxing with a double kill. He'll be able to at least slow down Team 1 for the time being, and with Foxy and a beautiful shot, this is doable going into the 1 versus 2 after Laxing goes down.
20 seconds left for our attackers to get their case down onto the ground. Shouldn't truly need all that time here, as they have the player advantage to play into. Foxy now slowly creeping back in, looking for the denial. If he can pull that off, it might win the round on its own, but no. Levy instead will have the angle to immediately shut shut him down on the retake. And this one, the opener of the second half, goes over to Team 1.
Unfortunate round there for Oxygen as they just lose 2 bodies to frag grenades. That's something that we did not see happening too often for Team 1 on their defensive setups, where these frag grenades just poured in and started taking out a multitude of people. It usually ended up coming up through the fire when it came to the guns coming to light. So for Oxygen now, this is starting to just be a little bit of a problem. Laxton apparently thinking that he downed the member of Team 1 that he was gunfighting the last time, just threw that in all chat, although you guys cannot see that. But we are going to be waiting just a moment as both of these teams begin to discuss things. Levy just simply says, no. No, you didn't. You didn't, Lax. I'm sorry. Hit your shot, sir. That's what he said. You guys, your guys is just screaming to scream. I mean, hey, man, like, you gotta pop off every once in a while, you know? Shake it up just a little bit. And honestly, if them yelling is what threw Laxing off there, they gotta feel pretty happy about that.
Laxing has a problem with that. I don't know what he was doing in the player area, like the last 3 nights. I like saw the tweet from the Rainbow Six eSports account. It was like, yeah, can we please stop the players like hooting and hollering at like 1 in the morning, please? Thank you. Like 3 videos posted to that effect. So you can see our round breakdown, folks, and see how exactly the first half and of course the first round of the second half has gone so far. Nicely done from Team 1 here as they've been picking up obviously a sparing amount of rounds inside of our first half there, where the defense did not favor them too well, but that's similar to the results we saw on Coastline as well. So they're going to look to chain that together. Now they're on their personal favors side of the attack, hopefully.
Absolutely the case. I wish you guys could see this. These guys are so cute talking back and forth. But I'm sure that, well, John's got it for you. You don't worry. He'll be able to post that later. Make sure you guys follow @BlueCast on Twitter. You're so welcome, John. A little shout out there for you. Either way, though, we are just moments away from getting back into this one. As of right now, Oxygen locked into kids' dorms in Dorms main hall. That's the upstairs site, as we all know and love, as Oregon has been in the comp pool for millennia.
So once again, folks, just working on getting ourselves back into the game here. Tactical pause should be expired in just a moment. This actually has gone on for quite a long time, so it might have transitioned into something of technical nature, but I'll hold my breath until we see this in a moment, as it's looking like we might be getting close to game time here, and close to possibly Judgment Day, you could say. Judgment Round, more realistically, for Oxygen, as once again, they're at the precipice of losing a lead, nowhere near the degree that it was built up towards in the previous map. However, to be completely fair to them, only a 4-2 advantage this time, so a lot easier for Team 1 to potentially leverage that back into their own favor. That also means a lot more work needing to be done by Oxygen with the advantage to still close out in regulation on this second half. Here we go, folks. We've unpaused it. We're heading back in game now, and it's time to see if OXG can maintain this lead, or Team 1 is once again going to immediately retake it from the back end.
And don't be excited if you are seeing Team 1 smile on the bench right now and you're rooting for Oxygen, because that is the smile of some killers. If they are excited, John, there's a lot of different ways that this could go very wrong for Oxygen in the current moment. Their tactical timeout has been burnt. They can no longer request the assistance of hopes or take some extended time as a breather to try and figure this out. Just as a reminder, look towards the top of your screen. This is Oxygen's map pick that we are currently on, and if this goes 2-0 fashion, they yet again get 0 points from this.
Yeah, that's going to have big potential outcomes on this group as well. We were looking at some of these statistics before. I think I got some information from Jacob. It's something like Damwon is already pretty much locked in for first place in this group. Nothing that any of these teams can do about that. That's a huge degree of success. Once again, from easily our strongest APAC representative at this tournament. Now it's everybody else just fighting to not be in last place, primarily here, and it's a relatively close affair between quite a few of our teams. OXG definitely needs to try and get at least one of these maps to stay in the fight.
Now, there's a recent tweet from the R6 eSports account, which was Damwon Gaming Kia just like eating food at a table by themselves, and literally everyone else in the group behind them just fist fighting each other. Because that's exactly what this group is, man. It's like, what is happening to the bottom end of this stack? But either way, Oxygen going to be out and about here, as well as Team 1 on the offensive side. They're going to pick up Yaga. What is happening to this poor man? Did he go down at the bottom of white here? Is that what just happened? I believe he was trying to put a frost mat down way too late. That's so very unfortunate for him.
The early round pre-fire getting the best of him, and I think oftentimes it's not even necessarily to catch a player in those circumstances, unless it was Yaga who tried to get aggressive there. That might have just been opening up the barricade, and Neskin kind of got lucky out of that circumstance.
I'm sorry, I think? Maybe? Like, well, I'm not sorry because I got a kill, but hey, it is.
It's like sorry, you were too slow to set up. I guess is what he was trying to say.
Oh, apparently all frost mats were deployed as production was saying, so it seems as though he was just crossing across white, and that's just insanely unfortunate.
Yep, just either got caught on the timing or maybe bit off a bit more than he could chew on the aggressive end of things and pays the ultimate price in this round for it. Laxing gonna distract here, as you'll notice there is a second player positioned a bit further down attic as well, Vertical. Gonna see if he can hide in plain sight and surprise against Team 1 when they go for the eventual clear. That's assuming, of course, they do go for it. They've abandoned it after they were opened up that first little Maverick line for themselves and are now putting a bit more focus onto the windows, rotating themselves over towards kids. You can see two players putting a lot of presence towards that one and a lot of nades as well. Going to be banking in here. Kino's got to be careful. There's going to be a lot of potential dangers coming his way here over the next few seconds. And there's the second nade. Looks like he survives the outset of that one. And at the same time, our attackers are able to dodge the Nitro response coming on the inside. Vertical, though, does surprise from that forward position, and he's going to be able to grab Alamo as the response for Yaga's death earlier.
And what a transition from him as well, all the way down to the basement. There's no way that Team 1 are going to be able to refrag him in his current capacity unless he obviously rotates into someone later on into the round. Speaking of rotations, KDS has a pretty nice one to the top of white, no claim of life. Kino goes down as the man advantage goes back in favor of the offense. Let's check into this utility though on the defense. Kino, since he's gone down, they really won't have any preventable utility. The Nitro Cell's already gone by Laxing. Foxy has some impacts he could possibly assist with if somebody gets pretty low, but now since Laxing's gone, Foxy with the refrag here as he's trying to fend off everyone from this window, but Neskin, he just takes his time. KDS takes him out, and oh no, John, this is looking like it's all going very wrong right now for Oxygen.
Vertical can't even get himself back up the white stairs in time. The site is lost so quickly. So unfortunate for Oxygen as they had a promising opening play from Vertical himself with that swing from inside of attic, but nothing else. Able to convert into some serious kills against Team 1. KDS brute forcing his way in once again with the white push and allowing for another successful attack around to go up on the board. OXG going to make their return over towards the basement and see if they can fare better this time. Keep in mind, again, that Warden banned out, so they do not have any immediate counter towards the Ying. Going to have to try and bring utility mitigation to do the job. Instead, they'll once again bring Yaga over here on the Wamai on top of the usual pick of Jaeger to try and pull that off. As you guys will remember, though, wasn't too much of an issue for Team 1 on the first attempt. So it's going to have to be different form from Oxygen this time.
Well, depending on their pacing and if they hit like right around like a minute 30, that's a potential of 4 discs out from Yaga, and then you also have Vertical's ADS is set up around the area, and he's more than likely going to put 2 inside of Elbow just for the deployable shield. So, I mean, if you're going to go in towards like the pillars area and stuff like that, that's going to be super straightforward with Candelas. You burn out the rest, you toss the Candelas in, and he's more than likely got, you know, smokes on top of that. Actually, more than likely not. He's probably got the secondary. Actually, no, I take it back. They do have Lagonas here, so they probably got the secondary smokes on Alamau, so he's self-sufficient in that sense. He can just burn whatever he needs to burn, toss the Candelas in, push however he feels, and more than likely bag some kills in the process.
So for things continuing to look promising for Team 1 to make the 2-0 run, it's up to Oxygen to change their own fate here. We're going to see a little bit of aggression from Vertical once again from those back stairs. I think he was just trying to maybe capitalize on some early pressure, and he's already given up that position, so we'll very quickly fall back downstairs as Team 1 instead begin to take up their own spots further into the map. They're going to obviously look to rerun this in the same fashion they did for the previous round, but will still be cautious in their droning for the first minute or so, just to make sure there's no little wrinkles that have been thrown into the shirt by Oxygen by putting a player in an unorthodox position. Won't be finding it, of course, so after this droning phase is complete, we should see a pretty quick movement from Team 1 to start setting up for the dissension.
This is what I really would have liked to have seen from Oxygen on their offensive side, simply because of the amount of damage that Team 1 was able to do with their roam games. Keeping a lot of bodies out and about made it to where Oxygen had to manage quite a few different aspects of how the round could end up breaking down. Also, obviously, Team 1 in that sense really didn't have to go too far with their roam because there was no pressure from Oxygen. They can just back up, man. They can just rotate back downstairs. It's so very easy for them to just occupy space and then fall back. So now Oxygen obviously going to be playing Turtle downstairs as of right now. Team 1 going to finish up their clear, John, and begin descending into the basement.
Like we said, not too much of a problem building up to this point in the round. Now is when the serious stuff begins here, as they've got a minute and a half the round remaining to make this momentum work out and allow this transition to go forward into the basement. Curious to see if OXG are going to put a bit more of an aggressive foot forward this time. Only just now starting to see the E-hatch get opened up, but that's usually the siren call for what would be the descent. Following it up in just a few moments. Kino will be spotted on his transition over towards Harry Potters. They know they're potentially going to have to deal with him inside of there. And that's a bit of a dangerous position for Kino. Yeah, he can block things off over here, but if he's not able to properly keep himself alive for an appropriate amount of time here, he could also drop onto the ground still with 2 of those gas grenades in his pocket. However, his position seems to have scared off Team 1. They do not feel the confidence to drop in with him holding the other end of that room there. That's a good thing too. Once again here, OXG needed to look for a good way to delay this, and they've accomplished their goal fairly well here. With only 40 seconds left, Team 1 seemingly stunted. Where is the drop? Here we go. The Candela's moving in. They're going to be prepared to go for it, and immediately Vertical sniped out by Alamau. Alamau looking for a second target, but not going to be able to find it. Ox should have a Matrix set up in the mid-hall here, and as well, the Toxic Babe is still blocking off access to E-Hatch. They're not going to be able to push into that, but keep in mind, again, they've got pillar control. That's the first step here. They can still work this with 20 seconds left, but they need to find some way to move forward now. Nade going in, doing some good damage to Kino, and this on top of a lit Foxay should allow them into the site. They still have another Goyo shield to deal with too, and they're going to waltz right through that. Kino shutting down the first and a second player with the shotgun in hand. Foxay grabbing one as well. It's looking like OXG might be able to hold on, but Alamau with his second pickup wants to say otherwise. He needs to stick it to the ground, and Lagonis now needs to stay alive, but he wasn't accounting for the swing from Laxing, and with the time at 0, Neskin cannot get off the defuse, and the round will go over to OXG as they sustain and keep themselves close.
Oh my god, how scary that was. I could tell from the energy in your voice, John, how terrifying that was for both of these teams. It was on a knife's edge as to which way that went. The Candela's out. Also, did you see Alamau through the fire and flames? He just
They
runs
didn't have a choice. They had no utility left. They couldn't clear it.
Exactly. You have to push, and that's as forceful as you're going to get with Team 1 here. The only misplay that happened in all of that was the Bearing 9 as he switches back towards the freezer hall. He thinks the pushes are coming from both ends, but it's a stack on the one side, and he gets caught off guard. Very well done there from Oxygen. That is a scary, scary round for either team.
Some respect coming out there. Obviously I don't speak Portuguese, so I don't know what they're saying, but I'm assuming it's a call of respect coming out. These guys have been chatting it up actually quite a bit in Portuguese, because Kino, obviously, for those who don't know, does originally hail from Brazil, so he does have something to call back towards with quite a few of the players on not only Team 1, but the entire Latin American community.
Yeah, we just kind of poached him from down there. It's like, hey, Kino, why don't you just come on up to North America and play in here? You know, why not? And he's been doing such a bang-up job. We've been loving him inside of the NAL the entire season. The missing puzzle piece, you could say, for Oxygen that have propelled them to this point, and hopefully even farther, as they're once again going to muster the lead inside of this one as we go into round 10. They're now going to be defending the kitchen meeting hold, and as we talked about before, a lot of different ways that this site can go down. They've brought some pretty healthy utility to be able to manage this. I really like that Vertical personally is on Mozzie. I think this is a good pickup for this location, simply because not only can you rotate downstairs and play for that Nitro Cell play, but also you have the pass to be able to get rid of a lot of info game, and that's exactly what Vert's going to do down here. KDS's drone almost caught up in that sense, but obviously since the drone's down here, Vertical knows that they know that he knows that they know that he's here.
What?
Exactly.
All right, moving on. As we take a look here and see what the opening strategy is going to be for Vertical, as he's very quickly going to find himself having quite a bit of pressure against him. A nade back over towards Pillar, once again giving him more information about where the push might be coming in from. It's going to be construction, in case you can't figure that out for yourself. Neskin will try to wrap into this. KDS as well, committing himself to the drone, but it's a little bit too late, unfortunately. They have lost the plot on Vertical, and he's already reascended up through the laundry stairs.
Well, at least be able to hold on to that for the time being. Also still has his Nitro Cell to be able to play for prevention, and he doesn't have to be downstairs in order to do that. No. You can do that in different ways, as Laxing will show us. Currently 11-5. He is having a heck of a game at the current moment, and Oxygen desperately need him to continue on, hold this Oxygen banner, and propel them forward into the game. Vertical still going to be manning this space up here towards main stairs. This will be holding on to Armory for a time. Levy will begin torching things up here on the stage wall. So we're worried about somebody possibly pushing up kitchen. Got a lot of ADSs and everything else in this corner. Look at the amount of utility that one frag grenade will grab, but obviously a little bit more weight when it came to the overall value of utility that Team 1 had to use in order to get that impact out, but that's really just going to deal a little damage to Levy and open them up a hole that they were going to make anyways.
Not terrible damage from an impact, considering it can only do like 50 or 55 HP max to any player anyway, so going to be able to get about half of that onto Levy there. So that's another bullet or so we won't have to hit when the actual gunfight connects, but either way, a small gesture ultimately in the grand scheme of things, as OXG still tries to wait this out quite patiently too from them. No one really trying to capitalize on the more out and about positions from Team 1 just by this stage right now. They're kind of just going to wait this one and allow for them to work their way in. Speaking of working their way in, here come the Candelas, one accidentally striking onto Lagonis there. Thankfully, he's just got plant duty, so it's a pretty straightforward process for him. And we're going to see the smokes moving in. Great smoke coverage too. It's completely going to block things off, but they didn't account for Laxing, who still sits behind the chassis and immediately puts down Alamau. He's trying to find the planter, but the planter's just barely surviving. A nitro over on top. It's not even going to be neat as the smoke had already taken down Lagonis. We've got KDS though with the cutoffs, but unfortunately he's the last one now standing, put into a 1v2. He's got to quickly hop back in here, try to stop the counter defuse. He's down one. He's got to find the second. No, he'll find the counter defuse instead in vertical. Well, thankfully, for Oxygen's sake, trade that back out with an excess of about 10 seconds or so and 2 dead teammates on the ground. OXG will barely scrap together another round for themselves.
That one was once again very, very scary. Anytime that we start to see angles being smoked off and Candelas flying with all these kills being traded back and forth, there's always a chance that the down team can possibly pierce through the veil and be able to take the round. So incredible stuff from both sides, but Oxygen doing so much inside of that round to stave off Team 1 from tying things up yet again. Oxygen up to match point, but here's the big thing, John. They haven't shut out a map in 2 days. They have to do it now.
Absolutely the case. OXG needing this point oh so badly, needing desperately to get at least one map on the board out of this series so they can get some points inside of the group here. A 2-0 is going to leave them in a very, very bad position for trying to escape this and move on into the playoff bracket. Team 1 now needs to look for revenge fairly quickly. They're going to have to do it upstairs in the kids' hold, which could become the last play of this map here. We can see them setting things up with the Goyo shield to support whoever's going to be playing by kids. And aside from that, once again, our setup will look fairly similar to what we'd already seen in the basement and a few other sites, as they'll be capitalizing mostly on insight utility for the play here once again.
Yes, indeed, my friend, as Oxygen won't be holding on that top floor, as you said. Pretty interesting lineup when it comes down to it, but arguably, I'd say Team 1's is going to be a lot more fun for this one. We're still going to have the Candelas on Alamau, but Neskin with this Skeleton Key can do a lot of very serious damage if they gather control of Kitchen. Be looking to them to get that downstairs presence, especially with the nades that they have along with them. They have 2 sets of them, so if they get some healthy information on top of that, they can possibly pick off some Oxygen members without having to fight them.
It's time to see here with Team 1 on the board. Let's see what their opening advance will look like. Shouldn't be anything too crazy considering the setup that we already talked about for Oxygen. A bit of a deployment downstairs, and Alamau is going to be able to find at least one of them vertical. The first to fall yet again as he's showing signs of struggling once more. After a phenomenal day 1 in this tournament, he has not been able to repeat that success. Currently sitting at 5-7 with mixed results as he's become the pivotal player to focus on for the first kill of the round here for Team 1.
Well, now Team 1 with some solid progression towards the short tower side of the map. They'll begin working their way in towards cafeterias. Alamau will be busting up every window, opening up a bunch of different spaces for them to possibly hop into. And this just means that there's a lot of management they have to do. Instead of boarding up the window, you guys are going to board up the stairwell instead, just so that Team 1 have to break that down if they do want to try and entry from that space. Well, speak the devil and he shall show his face. It's frag grenades down below here, and they seemingly know where this member is. Will it get Kino his current position? Oh my god, it will. What a frag from KDS as he blows Kino to smithereens.
Has a whole armored panel below him, and even that's not enough to be able to stop the explosive power of these frags here. Once again, wreaking havoc against our defensive rosters has become the theme around most of this event so far, and certainly most of our group stage. Coming out of the 5v3, though, Team 1 has the advantage, has pretty shortly the initiation right to start working themselves into the site itself. Just waiting, I think, for a few more players to get into more powerful positions, more forward positions, before they truly begin to commit themselves towards it. So don't expect that to be too far away. But still a minute to go on the clock. If they have the extra time to use, it's been a trend so far in this matchup as well. The teams haven't been too strange to using that, especially now that we've gone down to a 5v2. They're going to get the alert of the White Stairs play, but even then cannot counter it back out. Yogg is the only one left standing, the only one that can get a kill in this round, but just the one, as it'll be immediately exchanged by KDS.
I wish you guys could have seen the overtop view of the way that Team 1 was able to dismantle this setup, because it was very, very interesting. They actually end up just holding control of a lot of different spaces and forcing Oxygen to manage that. That's the big thing that you want to do to the defense. You want to pull their aggro towards different ends of the site, and that's exactly what Team 1 do. They don't put everyone out on the dorm's window with like somebody on white and like somebody on kid's window. They put people to be able to play attic, put a line in the attic wall so that you have to manage that, and you have to, if you want to hop up into attic and try and contest that window, you have to worry about that line. And also we've opened up all the windows, so you have to worry about that. There's so many things that Oxygen have on the checklist there that it's just overwhelming, and it makes it to where Team 1 can possibly pick people off. And well, that's exactly what we get. Team 1, although they've won the round, they're going to take the tack timeout. This is very, very smart. Do not end a game with timeouts. I mean, this is as simple as you can possibly get. This is one of those things where if you watch the NFL, you're like, guys, why are we ending the game or going to halftime and we still have 2 timeouts? Just use the damn things.
Oxygen with a bit of a potential saving grace here. You guys can't see it yet, but they re-unlocked the basement and they're going to be able to head back in towards that. Obviously, again, the fact that we have the Warden band still playing against Oxygen, honestly to a very slight degree at this point. No guarantee that OXG would even pick into a Warden if one was available, even though, of course, we're going to see the Ying response come out from Team 1. They've got plenty of other ways to potentially deal with those Candelas, mainly between both Jaeger and Wamai, and their other potential forms of delay. Not to mention the fact that they can still kind of put their posture out a bit more aggressively towards areas like Pillar and try to just hold back the eventual drop in through E that would prompt the use of those Candelas as well, and that may be another form of trying to counter out the current attacking strategy here from Team 1, which once again is not going to change despite the pause.
We're headed towards the basement. Kaid going to be picked up from Laxing, so they'll lock up the hatches for a time, but it should be fairly straightforward for Team 1 to be able to get rid of those because they do have Levy, unless he gets picked off magically. For Team 1, this lineup is looking more the same. KDS on yet another burner of a game, 12-8 currently. I do believe, yes indeed, tied with Laxing in kills, currently having 12 as well, as he lies at 12-6, doing a lot of heavy lifting for the squad. Foxay starting to come back to light as well at 8-7.
So with OXG in the lead, now looking once again, trying to avoid overtime, trying to avoid a potential comeback from their opponents. For the second time just in this series alone, what would be certainly not just the second time for them inside of this tournament. Calling back once again to the unfortunate turn of events against Damwon yesterday. They do not want to let history repeat itself. I talked about the first time when we casted OXG back on day number 1 when they played against Navi about how they had been the heartbreak team from NA. They had always found themselves being eliminated or otherwise muted in these tournaments through various reasons, whether it was back at Sweden where unfortunately their IGL Foxay had a positive COVID diagnosis. He was not able to attend there, and that kind of made their whole performance a bit irrelevant as they just weren't able to bring their full roster nor their full strength to the table. Looking back further than that, you go all the way back to SI 2020. A few unfortunate misplays cost what was then the Reciprocity roster a spot outside of the groups as well. They cannot have this same chain of events befall them once more after such a booming start to this game and this tournament against Navi. They need to try and find some success here versus Team 1, and this round would be a great way to start.
It would indeed. That one singular point could be the difference maker inside of this group, and that's the craziest thing to think about, John. All of these teams just quite unsuccessful at the bottom half, or rather just the bottom in general. DWG really seemingly the only team that can get anything done for this. So as of right now, Foxy going to be manning the elbow space here for a time. Lagonis and the rest of Team 1 will begin their checklist on this mid-floor as they break up the odds and ends of this space. Levy will begin his torching of the hatch, as you do. But while we're waiting on this, we shouldn't be seeing too much active play happening from Team 1. We could see some pressure come in from the stairwell. KDS will be in that area right now, but he's simply going to be making sure that nobody tries to swing up into that area and possibly deal some serious damage to the offense.
Alamau looking for the opportunity, starting to analyze what may be sitting down below on the other side of this one. Levy priming a nade here to take care of some of the utility. There is a motion detector, I do believe, sitting on the other side of that door as well, and we're going to see more magnets deployed over towards the other end. That might eat up the first bit of Candela. As you can see, they've got plenty more trying to deal with it as it'll work its way in, but at the same time, our attackers bringing plenty forms of their own utility to the table between frags, flashes, and other methods. Mainly just frags and smokes here, as far as I can tell. Might be a couple flashes sitting on Lagonis, though, but here come the Candelas, or at least they're starting to get primed up for Alamau. He's going to chuck those in. Will get eaten up, but still is going to blow itself up, and Kino is none the wiser to it. He'll be flashed out and taken down quickly by Alamau as Team 1 start their descent.
Now this gets extremely scary here for Oxygen because Team 1 are perfect on pacing in the moment. Lagonis with some extra information as well, as they've already gotten pillar control. The nade started to come out from Team 1 as well. Alamau, he's going to step right up into the Nitro Cell, and that could be all she wrote. Vertical with a big kill, and his second one. We've been waiting to see him pop up, but Neskin will finally fire back. They're down to a 2 versus 3. This is looking like Oxygen can close it out, especially after Yaga gets Lagonis, and now down to Neskin to prevent them from getting any points, but with very minimal time. It's going to be Oxygen that finally close out a map. They'll take Oregon 7-5.
And with that, it'll guarantee them at least 1 point additional in this group as well. A big win for them just winning this map, but the series, ladies and gentlemen, is not over just yet. We still have a third and final map to play out between these two teams to determine the true winner and decide who's going to get that second point as well.
Well, it's going to be Bank for our next map. How are you feeling about this? Because personally, I'm feeling like this could really go either way. Up in the air, it's an offender-sided map. It's something that obviously Team 1 seems to be favored in a certain capacity. It really could go either way.
Absolutely the case, and things, I'm going to be real with you, don't look that great statistically for Oxygen heading over to that one. They really had to work their butts off just to get as many rounds as they did on these first two. So did Team 1. Just to be clear, this is a very, very tight series right now. But Oxygen have barely played into Bank, as you probably heard our analysts talking about in the pregame segment, and the times they have played into it, it hasn't gone that well. So we're going to have to hope that they were prepping themselves for this map coming into SI, as a lot of teams will generally do. We'll be finding out the answer to that question and a whole lot more right after this break, folks. Stick around. We'll be back with the third and final map of our first series of the day. So welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the B stream here at SI 2022. The group stage continues onward. Our first match of the day continues onwards as well. No true winner found just yet here between Team 1 and Oxygen, as Oxygen managed to rebound, just holding on to that advantage they had at the end of Oregon and closing it out for themselves there. Now we go to Bank, a map that again has not favored them too heftily in recent times, to see if they can maybe close things out. If not, however, Team 1 will be looking to do so for themselves with a 2-1 result happening either way.
Absolutely the case, my friend. And for Bank, when it comes to Oxygen, things not looking too hot. 0-2 in recent history when it comes to this map, whereas Team 1, you can definitely say they're a little favored coming into this. So should be interesting, especially because it was allowed through. So obviously Oxygen has something in the cards. I'm hoping... we'll have to see.
I think they do. Again, keep in mind that those two plays, I'm pretty sure, happened like a couple of months ago at this point. And like I was mentioning before we went to the break, SI is the big tournament, obviously. So teams oftentimes will prepare new maps that they normally wouldn't play into to kind of surprise opponents or just bring out new strategies. This is kind of approaching do or die time for Oxygen because of how close the contention is inside of this group. Not to mention the fact that even though, yeah, okay, you get 4th place, you're in, but now you're bottom seed. And you might have to go against a team that absolutely shredded another group, depending on how we sort things out when we get to the playoff bracket. So getting yourself into a higher position will hopefully give you a cozier first matchup or two to play into once we enter the playoff stage. And it's only going to be a few days from now. We've got the stats, of course, from map number 2 here. We can see Alamau coming back in and dominating form once again here with the 1.34 rating. KDS falling off a little bit, but again, with the extra contributions coming in from Alamau. Levy having a consistent performance, if you count back from map number 1 as well. The team looking good, but obviously not enough when Laxing was shredding it up at 15-6. The next highest players being fairly even there at 9, 8, and 8, as you saw from the middle of the pack there on OXG.
Yeah, a game you have got to be happy for as an NA fan, as Oxygen's able to pull it out on their map choice and no overtime necessary in order to do so. So very well done by them. But looking to the future now for Bank, I mean, obviously, we're still a little worried about what Oxygen can do here, but given the circumstances of them not playing Bank for a little while, you and I both consider this as, well, they have to have something going on of importance. I really think that they can take it to Oxygen, or rather Team 1 in a certain sense, but it's all going to come down to these offensive sides and how many rounds we can see built up.
So the members of both teams just finishing up their last bits of prep here. Team 1, I think, working on someone's PC as well, so give them a second. But as soon as they are set and ready to go, we will be diving headfirst into this third and final map here over on Bank to see who will be our victor. Bank, again, another map we've been seeing the roam game be a big part of this matchup so far. That early round contention oftentimes deciding, I think, a little bit less so on our second map, obviously, as we had those kind of anchor-focused sites with especially how heavy basement play was. But now we're going to Bank. It's very much just like map number 1 on Coastline, going to become a factor yet again, as there is so much room for that type of play here on this map.
Yes, there is indeed. So many different ways that things can be busted up, especially with Osa being a consideration for this map. We did see her used yesterday on Bank inside of our Furia versus Elevate game, so we could see it happen again here. We did see Oxygen favor Osa on Coastline, so coming into this, we could see some pretty unique operator choices. But enough of waiting around, folks. It's time for Bank between Team 1 and Oxygen.
Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. A dead heat between these two teams at 1-1. All the games that we've casted first on all the previous days have always been 2-0. So finally we get ourselves a barnstormer to start the day, or a barn burn, or whatever the phrase is. It's not important. It was Wits match time. It is siege time. Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen, and see who tops out this match.
Well, with the Thatcher off the board, the second offensive ban coming through, and what does Oxygen want to remove from the play pool? We're about to find out here, as they will be removing Habana, the Hatch Queen herself, from play and making things a little easier when it comes to locking things up. Oxygen will be starting out on the offensive side, so I'm expecting a Kaid ban here. I would not expect them to leave this up to Team 1 as to whether the hatches stayed sealed or not, but actually, it seems like they will. They're going to get rid of the Mira instead, which also isn't a bad ban, so I'm not going to knock them for that one. But what does Team 1 want to do? Do they want to leave the Kaid up and try and run up on the defensive end? This will help them out a decent bit, but no, they're actually going to knock out both of these ops instead.
Yep, so the bans overall for this entire series, save for the Warden ban on map number 2, pretty straightforward for the most part.
Absolutely.
No huge surprises to look back on there. Everything aligning with what we come to expect inside of this meta. So let's get into it. The first round between these two teams. Obviously, it's Team 1 on the defensive start, OXG on the attack. We're going to be going towards an open area start. Once again, talking before about how those extended presences would be a bit of an issue for our attacking team to deal with. Once again, just like we were seeing over on Coastline, and this site is absolutely no exception to that. Expect immediate play towards the Tellers area, in addition to the usual play up inside of Janitor to try and delay out Oxygen's time bank of 3 minutes for as long as possible. Clash being baited by Team 1 there, but it will be 6 picked away, looking like towards the Valkyrie. And at the same time, it's been read pretty straightforwardly by the Oxygen roster, as they're also going to 6-pick into an IQ to counter that out.
Yeah, that's pretty funny, honestly. Bank is one of Valkyrie's best maps, especially out towards the lobby space. I'm sure we'll see some cameras being tossed up in there momentarily, so we'll definitely point them out for you as they go. But basically, all you got to know is there's a bunch of lamps over in that area hanging off the ceiling, and it's pretty easy to not only get those, but also some grass and everything else. You're mostly looking for things to hide in cheeky little spots for those black eye cams where you can get them on like one side so, you know, the pop can't really be seen, and that's a perfect example right there. It's going to be in towards the inside of the pillar, so unless you walk all the way over towards that small office, you are not going to find it at all. I believe it's called Lone Office. I haven't stepped foot in that room in like so very long, but yeah, either way, you actually
that one in the corner?
Yeah,
it's a Lone Office.
So yeah, you have to actually like step in over towards this area to see that camera at all, because we've buffed the map, folks. Can we please show them the new windows that we've added to the top end here? There they are. Look at all of the windows you no longer have access to. This is going to make it to where you can play inside the lobby space a lot easier as a defender.
All right, so let's see here how Oxygen are going to get themselves off the streets of, I'm pretty sure this is LA, is where we're set in this map, and into this bank to see if they can withdraw a transaction against Team 1.
There's no way this is LA. There's a lot of parking in the back end. There's no shot. No shot.
Well, look at the palm trees. I mean, who else has palm trees?
A lot of places, actually.
Palm trees are illegal outside.
They've actually just copyrighted palm trees. We're copywriting nature now.
So let's see here, as once again, the usual window pressure going to start to build up, primarily to deal with that extension from Jay and elsewhere here on the second floor near the CEO site would normally be. Vertical as well, spotting a bunch of gadgets in that area, so a hefty amount of intel going to be transferred over to the Oxygen clearing team. Whoever will have nades available to get rid of that will soon be in the area to try and deal with some of that here, as the first minute has now gone by, and Kino is going to be the first one to try and contest some of this presence here by Jay.
Oh, KDS is going to get the kill on a Foxy instead. A little risque there. Makino. Oh, what a burner on the top of square. Laxing to take down one as well. And what an opening minute and a half. Kino down to 1 HP as well as Neskin. He senses blood in the water. He knows how much he's hit him, but Kino, he's like a sniper from downrange. He lops his head off. Don't peek me. Sit down, boy, as Levy is the last man alive for Team 1.
The transitions from Kino, something to be respected at the least here, and it's left Levy alive as a shell of the former defense for Team 1 here. It's got to cross beepers as well, so they're going to get plenty of warning as to where he's coming from, and it's no problem at all for Laxing to shut this one down with his own second on the round there. Great stuff from OXG, great stuff from Kino, as they absolutely just walk their way through the entire defensive setup, and some shooting along the way to make it out the first round.
Yeah, speaking of walking, you really got to talk about Kino inside of that one. Look at this transition. The timing from T1 only slightly off there, just by a little bit, and it was just enough for him to make that transition from the bottom of square all the way up to the top to get that frag, and also that follow-up onto, I believe, Nuskin, who was manning Maestro in that sense. So unfortunately for him, gets dusted, and it's going to be an Oxygen round after Laxing is able to clean things up on the other end. Fantastic stuff from Oxygen to start us off, but just as a reminder for you guys at home, Bank does tend to be an offender-sided map. With the bans, this is looking like it's going to be no different on this one.
So after that beating on the first round, Team 1 are going to very quickly shift away from an open area site, saying that probably isn't going to be the best idea to try and play into that extended setup once again. Instead, they'll work their way back into the relative safety of the basement, where hopefully they'll be able to maintain a bit more control over the chaos being thrown against them. May not necessarily be the case, however, as we've seen in quite a few of our other matches, the attackers have sometimes even been able to force the issue here, such as the game between CAG and Liquid last night here. But this is a very different matchup, of course, here. So we don't have a Montaigne being picked in for OXG, so expect fairly straightforward style of play, but at the same time, Team 1 have a couple players up towards the second floor. Not looking like they're going to stick around for very, very long, however. Aside from that, we've got the usual holds being set up. Certainly one on the inside of Garage next to the ambulance, and then aside from that, your usual blue position being maintained by one of the M590 players. Looking like it's just going to be Alamau inside of this round.
Yes, indeed, my friend, as Lagonis will be managing blue as of right now as Ward, and this is a pretty straightforward setup that we've seen time and time again with this operator. You usually see it with like Ella or Smoke or something along those lines, but he is no stranger to this space, especially with his deployable shield, but it looks like that has either been assigned somewhere else or blown sky high already. Neskin going to be managing the open area space. This is one that we are actually seeing CAG use a little bit, but they actually just had the hatch closed with a CAG member prone underneath one of the desks. Kino go down earlier to one of his Brazilian brethren.
Well, quick fall from Grace, unfortunately for Kino here. Started out the last round with an absolutely amazing double kill. This time, he's going to be first picked out. That's a good pick is foul from KDS on Team 1 there. They'll be able to breathe a bit of a sigh of relief and pull back all of their aggressive players, all one of them. I think that they had out from the basement and just focus on the site hold here for the remaining 2 minutes. They've got the advantage, no need to risk it by making a bit more of an aggressive play, potentially losing one of their other players.
And Foxe is starting the work with the hammer, connecting all of the rooms and making these transitions a little easier for the OXG squad. Obviously, Team 1 will continue to stick to their guns around the space, especially for blue stairs, as this is going to be hotly contested. They do not want to give up server that easily, at least for this team. We see a couple with some other decisions that happen every once in a while, but at least for them, they are going to stick true, especially with Warden in this position. Those goggles will definitely assist him, or rather glasses, as he's got ADSs as well as my discs around the space. Vertical also going to have control of the ADSs here, or rather control of the IQ scanner. As Foxe's been bodied initially. Another one comes through. Laxing will clean him up, and that's the beauty of Finka. Laxing immediately gets Foxe up, and not a single person had to walk in to do it.
Really clutch timing on it too from Laxing, right on the dime with picking up Foxe as soon as he got brought down to a sliver of his own HP. Knew that once more was going to see Lagonis push out against him, so Lagonis is going to be a little bit frustrated about that, as there's really nothing he can do to fend off that additional pressure, and another adrenal surge coming in quickly, not only to boost Foxe back up, to potentially boost the rest of the team as they try to push their way back in here. 30 seconds remain, but they have no problem working their way past KDS, giving them a huge piece of the puzzle here as they get access to security, but a lot more needs to be gained, and they only have about half a minute left to get it. Levy will respond in kind here as he picks up Foxe, stopping the first attempt at a plant. Yaga now going to have to move in and do it here. He'll actually move directly past the gas as well and try to challenge in the site here. Good thing because the timing is so low. Laxing with a very well-placed nade knocks out Alamau, but the forward position here is going to drop the case on the ground, but it doesn't matter. Vertical, he's back in the game finally with an important double to clutch out this round for OXG.
Desperately needed there. If the Echo wins that gunfight, that's the round going to Team 1. And how risky did Oxygen have to be to try and get that case down? They had no insight as to what was going on the actual site. And did you see it, John? All of the walls soft inside of Red Hall. There is no safe haven for him to try and plant on, so he has to try and transition all the way back to the brick-facing wall right next to the door, but the person inside a garage can see you from there. Very unfortunate there for Team 1 that they were not able to close it out, but very well done when it came to their site setup.
OXG making it work here and scrounging together their first 2 rounds after some very successful play on the first coming in from Kino. They lose him this time on the outset of the round, but thankfully, like I mentioned there, Vertical coming alive exactly when he was needed to. A player that unfortunately hasn't been having the best go of it, at least looking back at map number 2 here, and he's a very important piece of the puzzle, especially back in stage 3 of the NAL. He was easily the biggest MVP for Oxygen during that couple months of play. And they're definitely going to be wanting to see that version of him again here at SI to try and allow for them to lift the hammer or see how close they can get towards it. Laxing as well having a great game here so far. Him and Vertical have yet to die as Laxing is up 4-0 at this point after 2 rounds, having been played 2 kills per round so far built up for him.
Okay, well, Team 1 have to get some rounds put together here, John. It's starting to get away from them. We'll have to see what they can do here inside of round 3, as they've been able to get some initial picks onto Oxygen, but Oxygen, I mean, they've practically gone feral here on Bank. They are trying to just fight fire with fire, time and time again, running at these Team 1 members in dying moments to see if they can just body them, and that's exactly what happened inside of the last round. We'll see if it continues on here in round 3, as obviously we have transition sites back to open area, but it's going to be a top hold now for Team 1 to try and prevent this space from being taken hold of.
be, once again, a relatively uneventful first few seconds of the round. OXG just using their drones to reconfirm some of the more out-and-about positions from Team 1 here. Kino has entered back into square, though, taking up position for himself. He's got that red ping for the Banshee position down towards Jay, and will chuck the nade in to deal with that. It's going to be vertical to strike first here, however, from the skylight, as the pressure from Kino was enough to force back Levy down the main stairs, right into the waiting arms of Vertical, who takes him out.
I don't know if he got himself up on the lip of that window there or not. I used to constantly go and man that window before they put the panels on that side, because you could get a really nice angle in towards the top of the stairwell, but now since then, it's been a little bit more difficult. Obviously, with the way that they have it, you can still transition in, which we see a lot of hot drops, what we used to back in the day, on that space when it came to like a top floor execute, but now not so much. I really, really like that adaptation there from Vertical. That was a heck of an angle, and one that more than likely a lot of people are going to be using because it was pretty cheeky.
So Kino continues to wait for his own personal opportunity to open up this round for himself, and more importantly, see if anyone from Team 1 is going to be staying away from their own site, but not going to find them too soon here. So once again, playing into the open area, no one wanting to test that upper hold now that it's been dealt with here. And the full control is gained by our attackers. Nice ping coming in there. Fortunately, a Valkyrie cam left undealt with it. Even though KDS gets it, he's not going to be able to escape. Yaga immediately on for that trade and keeps the numbers advantage into the favor of Oxygen here. You can see them trying to line up the Exo to open up the wall, but being very cautious of a potential comeback from the side of Blue here. In fact, so much that Yaga's going to cancel it outright. Still, even with that considered, Alamau was able to make a move of his own and catch Laxing. That's now 2 down for Oxygen here as they try to make an attempt to open things up. Kino attempted to swing, but it was actually Lagonis from the other end here who finishes him off. Yeah, but even more damage coming from a player deeper on the inside of open area. Yog now trying to swing himself, but he can't even figure out where he's at here as Neskin comes out from break room, takes him down. That's on top of additional. Oh, that's just unlucky there from Foxe. That looked clear to me, but no, the nade's going to somehow bank off that pillar. He'll waste it. He does have one more, but now as last player alive, he opens things up well with the first kill, nearly gets the second versus Alamau, but it does not work out. And now Team 1 comes alive and gets on the board.
Foxe pixels off removing the head of Alamau there, and that really would have gave him the opportunity he was looking for. He knew that other player was around the blue space. If he doesn't get to the top of that stairwell in time, Fox has a very big chance to take that round for Oxygen, but that's going to be a defensive round that Team 1 have been wishing for since this game started as we go into round 4. Very well done from them to be able to bring it back. I love the way that they ended up working that bottom square space with the player transitioning up blue and challenging at the kitchen door at the same time. That's the kind of team play you want to see in the way that they were able to establish that crossfire so quickly. But past that now, we have to go back downstairs, it seems, for Team 1, is really nobody has been trying to go up to CEO simply because of how strong people are at clearing that space in the current moment.
So as we get ourselves into yet another basement hold here for Team 1, we're not going to see any huge dramatic change-ups in the operator lineup. Once again, the Warden coming in for Lagonis to be able to hold out on Blue, the Mozzie in for the Pests and the potential intel mitigation, and then your usual spread of potential roaming operators. It is looking like actually Team 1 might try to get a tad more aggressive with their positioning here, just based on the operator lineup. But once again, I want to see how these next 20 seconds go here and where all of our players end up before I judge that too harshly. There's a possibility they could try to set up a bit more heftily onto the second floor and then just leave the dual hatch rotation open to head back downstairs towards the basement relatively quickly, and I certainly looks like that is potentially going to be in the cards here, but we will wait and see. As time is up, setup time that is, and now it's time for Oxygen to spawn out onto the board and see if they can knock out some of these stragglers still working on getting initial positioning for Team 1.
A little bit of an update for you guys over for the A stream. So if you guys don't want to hear about the game, make sure to mute your speakers.
3, 2, 1, go.
Nana Spinsiri takes it in 2-0 fashion up against MIBR, getting their first victory here at LAN, John. Yay! They've done it. You got to feel for them, and they're definitely pretty excited about that one. You and I casted them. It seemed like the secretly show when we did, but fortunately enough for them, they're able to bring it back. But that's it, guys. Hopefully everybody had enough time to mute their stuff if they were caring about that.
They've officially got defense against Twitter now.
Yes.
They've got one game. They can be like, well, what about that one?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. They can fend off all of the Twitter trolls, just like we all tend to have to do. Either way, though, as we get through the first minute here, some explosives going off, and luckily enough, we're just on time, John, for the first kill, as KDS will lop off Kino's noggin.
Kino, a great start to this game, but silent ever since then. The first 3 kills are, in fact, his only 3 kills of this game. Thankfully, other members of OXG have been picking up the slack.
Oh, no!
Oh, what a catch, as he's barely going to be able to get Neskin. You can see 2 of his teammates trying to swing out as well, and elsewhere, Levy is able to negotiate himself a kill against Foxe, potentially pushing in through the front door there. A good trade is now Team 1 back in control, and they still have to deal with the position from Levy at some point before descending into the basement any further.
This is looking like Team 1 could possibly tie this up, especially if Levy continues to get away with this. Some serious damage dealt to him as he'll scurry back into Teller's office, back through beepers, and hopefully transition back towards possibly the top floor. So we do have yet another Team 1 member inside of this space in the current moment. It's going to be Alamau over here inside of Kitchen. He'll transition back into open area. Levy's still on the roam as well. They are not going to let Oxygen get this for free here. And now Oxygen have to do a bang-up job of clearing out this space. Yaga gets taken down by Levy, who's in the corner. The stun isn't going to get him off the door frame there. And now they have the case. Oxygen is doing this all on their lonesome. And this is a problem. Laxine will be able to land his shot, but he's only got 1 more adrenal surge. It's going to add a little bit of HP, but doesn't really matter. He's just about a bullet's worth of HP, depending on what he gets hit with. But luckily enough for him, it's all going to be SMG, so it's going to take a couple of shots in order to end his existence.
Alma knows he's got pressure, but look at the coordination coming in. KDS with the immediate cutoff as soon as it unfurls, and Alamau to shut it all down. Beautiful work. Members of OXG never even get close to attacking the basement. The furthest they get is Garage, excellently held off by Team 1, especially the extended game, and especially Levy there. Beautiful stuff to tie us up at 2-2.
Team 1 are just all on the same page on these defensive setups in the moment, especially inside of that round. You can see how they resurge back into the mid-floor to be able to hold that instead of just being like, oh, we got our picks, let's just let them have it. No, we're not letting you get away with this. Levy, especially inside of that round, that was the dagger that Team 1 needed to slow down Oxygen on this map. They pulled pressure from all different sides, and the big thing here for my NA boys, guys, you gotta work together to clear out these spaces. You cannot have your hard breach rotating into a space with case control by himself to try and contest a roamer. That's just very piss poor Siege.
So, back upstairs now for Team 1 to try out a site that they have not even gone into as of yet here, but now need to play into it as they don't really have a choice anymore. It's been some solid runs from Team 1, and they need to stretch their legs a bit. Head up to CEO to see if they can find success here. We're seeing this one become a bit of a popular pick for OSA plays as well. OXG was a team looking to bring it back in, as we saw earlier, mainly on Coastline, but for this site, not feeling the trial on it just as of yet here. Mainly, again, needing vertical to stay on the IQ, to suss out the positions of those Valkyrie cameras. Even aside from that, too, you also want to keep Finka alive in this one. Foxe potentially could have switched off the sledge, but the sledge will be very useful for attacking the site and dealing with some of the positioning. And aggression to start the round up from Levy, but this time it'll be caught by Yaga, giving an advantage over to Oxygen.
Well, fortunately enough for Oxygen, they will get that early pick, so Yaga immediately springing back too. They have the early man advantage that they'll be able to abuse going later on into this round. This means they can now take their time in clearing things, John. They don't have to immediately try and hop in and find any kills. Also, for Team 1, this is going to force them into more of a lulled play style. They want to try and slow things up, yes, up against Oxygen, but if they risk any more bodies, this could go very, very wrong. We see Alamau trying to play it right up to the edge there, out inside of the elevator hallway towards Square. Some nice cams around the space as of right now to at least keep some info as to what's going on, and they are all intended for Square. Look at the amount of info that is being received from the Valkyrie.
Nesca just patiently waiting for anyone from Oxygen to drop down from their roof positioning and swing over into stock, but no, he's going to make the play instead. Heads right out to take the challenge versus Kino over by the Square door and knocks him out. That's an even game once again at 4v4.
And Oxygen just not holding on to that angle. He's able to cross into stock and take him out. Luckily enough, Vertical has all of the intel in the world with this IQ scanner. He'll get 2 of the camps already. And oh no, it's
the
gonna be a trade, but now the case is down outside as well. Good news for Oxygen, 1.5 minutes remaining. Bad news is there's a lot of site utility for them to go through in order to get this plant. They don't have Yaga as a thermite anymore. I mean, there's a lot of problems here that Oxygen are going to face. They're gonna have to try and funnel into the actual site. Oh, Alamau, don't you dare. I think he's going to do it. I really do.
He heard the rappel. He knows
he's totally going to go for it.
He saw the barricade break.
Look at him staring. Look at him staring at the camera on his opposing teammate's screen. He's just waiting for it, but so is Vertical with open arms. Back and forth they go as Alamau chooses to walk away from the window, which could have been a pretty risky play.
So more than likely, I would assume there's a camera somewhere out here, one of the Valkyrie ones, to be able to detect.
They were all 3 inside. At least from what I saw, it might be a default cam that's still up, to be completely honest with you.
Some form of intel still alive there for them to be able to use, but apparently not enough to justify the swing on us. Now, it's all 3 members of Oxygen on the rappel, so you probably don't want to try that, considering the immediate threat to your life that will come into play. Now, that doesn't mean you can't fend off the pressure from Banana, as all 3 players are going to be in your crosshair for the swing here now. They'll work their way in. The nade from Foxe is a hit here, and Alamau can be none the wiser to stop it. Never mind, he finds it through the boxes as he takes out Vertical instead. Someone else will have to pick up the pieces, and they do not have a whole lot of time to make up for it. First swing is in. The cross is made. Laxing, however, back out in square, not in the site. Lagonis spots it and shuts him down, and Alamau picks up the last one.
That was so beautifully done from Team 1 in the way that they ended up playing that round, especially starting off with a man down. They're able to find the singular gap in Oxygen's offense, and they even have Laxing playing for the rappel for stock as well, but he's not manning the windows at the time, and he gets punished for it, losing one of the Oxygen members, equalizing, and then they have to go for these very awkward transitions as the case gets put down outside. They all go to the north side rappel, but you have to swing into the windows, and as we both know, when it comes to Bank, that doesn't tend to work out the greatest, especially when you don't have control of lobby, where we saw Alamau step up and be able to prevent the plant from going down, all on Banana.
So let's see here now as the lead has once again been lost for Oxygen after a promising start to the map. Things have quickly turned in the favor of our Latin American challengers here, looking to instead take the lion's share of rounds out of this half, and they could very well do it, returning once again to open area to try and secure number 4. This will be the last defense for them, of course, before we switch sides and Oxygen get a chance to pick up some of their own. Coming up on round number 7. Operator lineup once again going to see no changes for Oxygen and only minimalist ones for Team 1. Most notably, once again, bringing in the Maestro to add those evil eye cameras and as well the firepower of the Alda in the event that Oxygen get close enough to the site to assault it.
Now, this is a round that ended up breaking down in a pretty explosive fashion, at least for Team 1's sake, as they were able to manage square pretty damn well. They ended up taking out quite a few Oxygen members and stringing out Yaga. The poor guy was trying to fight 3 different people all at the same time, one in archives, one in kitchen, one in blue stairs. It just seemed like they were coming from the trees, and they most definitely were. Team 1 looking to take this half now in a 4-2 fashion as they'll return to open area and hopefully for their sake find the same success.
So just taking care of the usual duties here inside the first few seconds of the round. Drones as well still need to be checking what is present upstairs here at the usual J extension. More than likely something that'll need to be dealt with by the members of Team 1 here, or rather by the members of Oxygen inside the first half of this round, and certainly that will be the case in the form of KDS extended over towards the elevator banks at this point. Really looking like a whole lot of pressure built up elsewhere though, and actually no, Lagonis, I can see him now inside of J, so a bit more there, but I think he actually just dropped fairly early, so he's already gone, and that threat has been dealt with by the Oxygen camp.
Well, now for Oxygen, going to start manning these windows around the lobby space. Obviously still have some square presence going on in this area. Doing a bang up job of clearing out this top end right now. Want to make sure that no Team 1 members are trying to get an early pick in a ratty spot or something along those lines like we have been seeing. We saw it pretty early over on Coastline for Team 1 with Alamau. Pulling off a lot of different things that weren't necessarily working out early, but that's also the map that we saw Team 1 be able to take away from Oxygen when it seemed like they had the prime opportunity to be able to pull things away from Team 1 in that aspect on their defensive side. But as of right now, looks like Oxygen able to at least negotiate for this top floor control to begin breaking up the flooring and looking into Team 1's setup a little deeper.
Foxy just knocking out as much of this floor as he can here, trying to open up the POVs deeper into the room he's looking at down below here. Yaga, in the meanwhile, prepared to throw out his first Exo. We do have the impact trick coming in, and it is a winner there. I don't think... Oh, no, never mind. Yaga pulled it off, so no, not going to see anyone wasted there. And actually, a fairly good job of baiting out the first impact. Second one will connect, but now it's been used. Yaga does have another... No, never mind, as Levy comes back up from the backside of Blue and shuts Yaga down before he even gets a chance to deploy that second Exo.
Super unfortunate for Oxygen in the moment, as KDS will still be able to keep his life. The shot's just not landing as of right now. Grenades in abound for Oxygen as they're looking to take out some more pieces of utility. Neskin just letting the 81 sing out towards the kitchen door here, as Kino will take some damage, but Foxy to strike first onto Neskin. They'll equalize going into the last 20 seconds here. Laxing going to poise himself inside of the elevator hallway on the second floor as they'll start to try and transition in through that space. Kino going to continue to lock up Blue as they do have a drone for this area. Foxy landing another nade. Lagonis with a beautiful shot though, and oh no, Kino has to hop too. Laxing with one. They need to have oversight for this, but oh no, the shotgun in close range, it might be able to prevent, but Levy instead, since he dropped the angle inside of Archive, he's allowed to exist again, John. He waits it out, goes back into kitchen, and it's a 4-2 half, as well as Alamau letting him out just a little bit. You saw the hands around the mouth. He's yelling over to the other bench in that current moment. Team 1 pull ahead going to the offensive side.
A funny last moment there as well. Levy doesn't even realize he walks right into the treasure trove, basically. He's like, oh, planner's right here.
Oh, there's just a stack of gold over the corner. I guess I'm just gonna take this
real quick.
All right. Hey, you want a Ferrari? I'm feeling like having a Ferrari right now. That'd be fun.
Team 1 could buy some Ferraris for themselves as they make their way all the way towards the end of our group stage here and into the playoff bracket. It's got to go a little further than that.
You'd rather buy a Lamborghini, to be honest with you. Ferrari, they're kind of stuck in their ways, man. They don't let you do anything to their cars. That's the car guy speak. I'm sorry.
Ruined our potential Ferrari sponsorship.
Dude.
How dare you.
Lamborghini, sponsor us. Let us do cool stuff to your cars, please. I promise. I promise we'll do cool things to your cars. Plus, like, you can get a Huracan for like $300,000. So if you wanted to like lift the hammer and then spend all of your money that you just got from winning the biggest event in Rainbow Six on a single car that doesn't exactly ride that well because it's really, really fast and a bunch of other things. You know, it is what it is.
Are you done burning bridges with potential sponsors?
Yeah. I'm waiting for Ubisoft to just start pinging me like, Stokes, please stop. Please stop. We had this in works for years now. But now we've transitioned over to the second half of Bank here. It's up to Oxygen to do quite a bit when it comes down to these defensive setups. Now, the big thing right now is that I'm hoping that their struggle on the second map was not all for naught, because this Bank right now means quite a bit to the overall story of Oxygen, but you could say the same for Team 1.
Yeah, both teams really in a bit of a struggle city in terms of overall points for the group, so it's a big boost to get even that single point just for winning this extra map here. And we're going to see talk a little bit more about Oxygen's specific setup. Once again, a Thunderbird, for those guys who didn't notice it, coming into play here for the basement play, allowing for Oxygen, if things go a little bit awry on their extended setup, which you can see there's quite a few of them extending up at least to the first floor, they can fall back, get that little bit of a boost up, and potentially more than that if they want to run the gauntlet between multiple ones and get themselves close, if not over, full HP here. Oxygen, however, pulling back from their initial swing upstairs fairly quickly after the first 45 seconds or so of the round has transpired. They don't really get much in terms of a push from Team 1. Just going to let them in now that first third of the round has been wasted out, and allow for them to set up towards their usual clear.
Well, Team 1 are going to have plenty of hard breach at their disposal for this one to get the hatches popped. No sledge, but a buck will suffice for Neskin to begin breaking up a lot of these soft walls and connecting rooms yet again. As for Laxing, he'll be manning the cardiac sensor for a time, and there's going to be so much information going in onto them. It's going to be the can over here from Sam Fisher to pop things open. Zero with his cameras as well, more than likely setting up quite a few of those. That Nitro Cell actually going to get stuck, unfortunately enough, onto the cubicle. Will not go in to get rid of that secondary set. So looks like they'll be able to at least get the hatches open, luckily enough for Alamau's sake, as they begin to clear out Blue with Kino manning the bottom.
Kino continuing to hold as well here and just bait out the extra time. He's already pre-placed his next Toxic Babe for the event. That his first one fades away. He can just follow it up real quickly. Won't have to chuck it back out and potentially leave a window for his opponents to work through here. We we go, just chaining them together. It's not going to take us all the way to a null pointer, quite obviously. We still have well over a minute to play in here, and that is a nice little spot to hide a drone, as it's going to sells him out here quite early on. Flash right in front of his face, completely blinds him out. The skeleton key gets the job done here, and Neskin eats just a few more bits of that grenade damage. Toxic gas grenade, that is, to be able to confirm the kill and prevent any sort of fallback here. Rest of the team follows it up with quick control of the server room and a quick opening of the access to security as well, using out one of their hard breaches to accomplish that, and now getting them pretty much ready to hop right in here. Only a +1 player advantage though, so it is going to be a bit dodgy as they go in, but Alamau quickly makes it 2, and now 3, 4, as he shuts them all down, finally to be shut down himself by Vert, but he's a shell of his former team self, and Levy comes in to trade it out. Never even got the confirmation on the first one, as it's a flawless round from Team 1.
Alamau just carving up Oxygen in that round. He did practically everything except deal with blue. He opened up all of the hatches, drops down to assist his team in the plant, and picks up 4 kills in the process. What a dastardly man in the moment. And for Oxygen, that's got to be immediate tag pause.
Yep, just for anything to reset real quick, cool themselves off. That's a bit of a frustrating loss considering they had them held back. Only lost the 1 player, which was a player they kind of expected to lose by that point in the round anyway. Your blue hold is kind of on a limited timer, especially once the hatch is open. So once again, things looking great for OXG up until that hatch drop had been made. And now going to be looking to figure out what exactly went wrong and more importantly, what exactly they can fix for the upcoming round on what's looking to be a CEO hold.
I'm so happy you said that there's basically a timer, an unknown timer as to when that blue hold goes down, because that's really what it is. Whenever you start talking to your team and you're like, all right, guys, who wants to play blue? Nobody raises their hands. You want to know why? Because you're gonna die. That's exactly what's gonna happen. But yeah, you know, it's a great spot to be able to hold on to because it limits a lot of what can go on inside of server, and that's what you're really worried about when it comes to that space. The longer you limit them from server, you know, the harder it is going to be for the offense to get a plant down. But for this one, Team 1 not only body Kino in there, but it's done in very convincing way from Neskin. The smoke goes out, the stun goes out from him as well, and he challenges with that skeleton key in close range to deal some absurd damage in that moment. And the best part about it is he doesn't have to be nearly as accurate. It's very difficult to see through those toxic smokes sometimes just because the plumes will have different effects at different moments, and sometimes it can block you, sometimes it won't. But with the skeleton key, it takes a lot of guessing work out of that situation. He downs Kino and is able to claim that entire space. Team 1 are feeling themselves at the moment.
And with only 2 rounds to go, Oxygen to feel for some sort of a winning strategy here to get themselves back into the match. A 3-round deficit now put before them, potentially for that very unfortunate scoreline that has set before OXG. Usually with them on the other side of it, where the loss usually evades them from that point forward, but now they have to be the one to make the comeback, run the gauntlet, as we get another very nice look at that run from Alamau as well towards the end of the previous round.
That shot on Laxine was just disgusting. If I could just like take the energy from that 1 kill and just inject it straight into my veins, I would. That was truly, truly absurd stuff coming out from him. But Team 1, they're firing on all cylinders at the moment. It's been a little bit of a strenuous series going back and forth here in between these two. But now with Team 1 and an absurd 3-round lead, whilst also being on the offensive side, this is looking like their map to lose.
So let's see if they can pull together here and clutch out the last 2 rounds that they will need to get together to be able to negotiate the 7 rounds needed to be able to win out the series, or if OXG, coming off of their pause, are going to enter this round with renewed vigor that will be needed to bring the comeback into the fold here. Interesting pick from Young, as we are actually going to get a Bandit. Very rarely do we see Bandit played anymore, because Bandit tricking is nigh impossible to successfully pull off nowadays. Yeah, it doesn't really work anymore, unfortunately.
It works in a certain sense. We've seen it, I believe, like 1 time at this LAN actually be successful. I believe it was on the CCTV wall for Clubhouse. But that's really like the only spot that you might see it happen every once in a while. A lot of teams are really used to clearing that wall with Maverick and everything else, so it really doesn't have a huge, huge boon for you on defense any longer, but it's still going to do what it does best: hold up the walls, make sure they're electrified, and make it to where Hard Breach can't just instantaneously go on it. This is what you want to see around this top space, especially for the elevator hallway. If you guys watched Elevate versus Furia, you'll know just how damning that wall can be if it's opened.
Let's see here now. tension starting to build up, and a drone sneaking right into the defensive matrix here of Oxygen. KDS trying to spam in through that, but not going to be getting too lucky here and finding anything as the two players inside of that room quickly fall back through the hatch and to the relative safety of their own basement hold here. Going to need to find a way to rotate back out of that, though, as of course we're defending the second floor right now, so we'll be a bit detached from the action. That's what Alamal's looking for, trying to see if he can catch either of those players when they decide to work their way back up, if they should head through towards the main stairs, which is really going to be their only option. I'm pretty sure Square has fallen over towards the Team 1 guys by this point, so really not going to be able to work yourself in from that area.
Team 1 taking their time on this one. Obviously, this is going to be the top floor hold. Kino with a big pickup onto KDS. That was out towards the square windows. Alamal will pick up Fox A, though, as once again we have this cheeky angle adopted that we saw from Vertical earlier on that ended up catching a Team 1 member, but now the shoe's on the other foot. Skin will transition down off of the balcony into open area as he'll be taking control of this. Alamal going to continue to man that window as well. They're starting to clear out as many bodies from this space as humanly possible. Yaga currently upstairs inside of the elevator hallway with the remainder of the team, at least Kino over inside of the space as well. Seems like Vertical is all the way downstairs and could be playing spoils for a flank later on. And Laxing, well, he's playing Laxing's spot, as we call it, over inside of the elevator hallway. So as this timer continues to dwindle, Team 1 have to propel themselves forward, but as of right now, don't exactly have much info to do so. This has been read out pretty well. Alamal will get one. Yaga fires back, though, as this is 3 versus 3.
Clean opening shot from Alamal, but unable to sustain against the repeat over from Stock. Neskin finding one on his own and nearly getting a second, but having to dodge the Nitro. Thankfully, Levy's there to assist and finishes off Kino. Yaga, now the only one left standing here. The plan, nothing standing in that way for sure here. Yaga just has to sit back, allow it to go down onto the ground here. Might be able to get the trade on Neskin, but no, he recovers in the middle of the fight and shuts it all down once again for Team 1 as they push up onto map and match point.
Very well done, and the energy is just at an all-time high right now for Alamal and the boys of Team 1. This is going to be so hard fought here for Oxygen, as what do you do in the moment? It's 6-2 here on Bank, and John, it's starting to look like this possibly shouldn't have been let through.
Certainly seeming like it might be the case. Some slivers of hope for Oxygen in earlier rounds, but it's all fallen by the wayside here. Team 1 once again dominating in multiple aspects of the round, especially the early round, and even again when they were able to bait out the time. Oxygen, this is all the way down to the late round. We just throw Alamal down a hatch in a basement and quad kill apparently, and still they find success there. Nothing is working at this point for Oxygen, already having used their tactical pause as well. There's no more time to recenter themselves and figure out, come to a kind of consensus about what they can potentially change up. They have to just do it in the mid round here and look for some way to bridge this gap. That is now a 2-6 deficit.
I mean, it's just so hard for Oxygen to fight Team 1 in the current moment. The form of siege that Team 1 play is pretty preferable if you can manage it. That's the biggest thing. It's really difficult to pull off some of the things that they do because you really have to be on the same page, and on top of that, you have to have some absurd mechanical ability. That's the biggest part of the puzzle there. And for Oxygen, as of right now, they are just getting punched directly in the face. This isn't like, oh, we're going to beat around the bush, we're going to do our thing. No, this is straight to the point. We are taking this site from you, and there's not a damn thing that you're going to do about it.
So considering that, it's time to see. It's do or die time, quite literally, for Oxygen here. As well, yes, they've guaranteed a single point for themselves by picking up the second map. That may not yet be enough. We'll have to see how the groups pan out once we get back over towards our command center. Hopefully give you guys a good picture of how the rest of this group is looking and how the potential outcome for not only Oxygen, but Team 1 may look should they come out victorious from not only this round, but any round for the next 4. Team 1 just pushing themselves forward. Eska wants to get himself into a safe corner, which is why he takes out that debris to prevent any more light swings from coming in, making his opponents go for the full outright rotation there if they want to kill him. Vertical going to be challenged here because of the lifeline charges being thrown out against him. He's not going to be too keen on trying to get fairly aggressive with this peak as well, so that'll let the large majority of Team 1 into the building and into square control to start taking some map control away from Oxygen. KDS as well, in Tellers, nearly able to catch out Laxing on the rebound, does in fact pull that off, taking him down and once again giving Team 1 the opening player advantage.
All of a sudden, for Oxygen, this is looking like a round that is completely losable. Foxe and Vertical both still upstairs. Yaga now in the proclaimed laxing spot over on the other end of the elevator hallway. But a beautiful shot there from Foxe, immediately shot back though by KDS, who sees the hole and is able to claim the life. And they're going to keep the man advantage because of that. Beautifully done from Team 1 as they're still trying to look for a spot to plant this diffuser. Luckily enough, it's not going to be inside the archive space for them. It's actually going to be over inside of open area, and they still have plenty of time to be able to manage what's going on inside of the space.
XG not trying to overstep here, but at the same time still needing to find ways to control the absolute chaos that Team 1 are soon going to throw at them. And Yog's trade is certainly a nice way to even things out and slow down the pacing at a minimum from our attackers here. Vertical not catching the cross just yet. Might have been able to see the feet coming back out there, but it's a tough angle for him to play into here. He has to wait for them to get a bit more aggressive. Kino with an important second kill as well, this time against Lagonis. Now the advantage shifts into Oxygen's favor, and as well another swing from Kino goes completely unnoticed by Neskin. He gets away with murder here against him, and suddenly the entire attack falls onto Levy's shoulders in a 1v3.
45 seconds for Levy to do something here. Another smoke out. He knows that the smoke is playing on the shield, but now with very low HP, it's anybody to end him, and it'll be Kino instead, as he simply transitions back into the angle and is able to end the Brazilian. They'll stay alive, at least for now, on Bank.
It's a simple process for Kino, too. He's like, look, I got 3 angles to peek from. You guys don't know which one it is. You're playing whack-a-mole, and I'm the mole, but I've got a gun.
It's a little different when the mole's got a gun and you only got a hammer. You're just like, all right, which hole do I... Oh, I'm dead. Oh, well, either way, Oxygen have to go on a huge string of rounds here in order to even accomplish overtime. Yep. This is the first piece of the puzzle. They still need to find the other 3.
Quarter of the way there, as 3 more rounds, as you said, needing to be picked up. We were looking at a couple different options there for Alamau, as you guys could see him postulating his 6th pick. Was originally
postulating his possibilities, you could say.
Initially was going to work himself over onto 0, but has decided to bring the Ying, and it is against a basement assault too. So Flavors of Oregon going to come back out once again. Team 1 going to see if they can whip out the strategy from the last map, and maybe it will be their victory strategy here to push them over the edge and give them the 2-1 victory in the overall series, as well as 2 points in the group.
You gotta be feeling for Oxygen in the moment. Hopefully they start feeling themselves and we can start to see some pretty outright rounds for them. As of right now, trying to fight back. Oxygen, though, able to at least muster the last round in a pretty convincing way, taking out quite a few Team 1 members as they struggled to find the proper map control in order to get themselves onto site. Yes, they were able to breach into Kitchen, but that was really about it. Once the transition came through, all of the Oxygen members getting away with quite a bit. I was really worried early on as well as that pick came through from KDS onto Laxing, as well as his ability to maintain man advantage with that kill onto Foxe upstairs. It was very well done from him, but fortunately enough for OXG, the rest of Team 1 just not up to the task.
So Alamau and the rest of Team 1 continue to build up presence here. Get ready to start taking some of this important map control away from the Oxygen roster. Yog as well will be the first to fend off some of it as he's going to catch the drone, but stays very, very close to the rotation point.
Oh, what the hell?
Too hot here. Foxe as well out and about over here towards Square. He loses a huge chunk of HP, going down to about 40 overall here and having to fall back completely as a result of that, as he's nearly caught out, it seems, by a member of Team 1.
I don't necessarily know what happened there. Didn't really see any breaches or anything, but I'm assuming that somebody ended up walking in towards top square or something and catching him off guard. So seems like they'll be able to stack up utility inside of the blue stairs space. This could obviously go awry just because of the placement of one of the discs that could end up blowing up all of the ADSs, but we'll have to see if that ends up going on. It's the one right up to Kino's right here, not the ones inside of the door frame. Those will be perfectly fine. So looks like KDS will at least be able to get some info here. He's going to keep it right up on the drone, so Kino has to forcefully move around. They're also going to keep Foxe down here, as everyone knows all of his Wamai discs are on a timer, so keeping him around this area means he can continue to add things to the pile and make it more and more difficult as they continue to burn everything out. Look at the amount of utility that Team 1 One will be forced to use for this setup.
Quite literally everything being used up here except for 2 flashes and a single nade. That's what they're keeping in their pockets. KD is probably going to want to save the 1 nade for usage on the actual site assault, but he might not have a choice here soon. KDS trying to move his drone in to see what this hatch looks like. He'll completely miss the setup on top, but his teammates should be well aware of it, that by this point they won't necessarily need to drone that out. And as well, Foxay just found Proning out in the open trying to counter the angle from the hatch, I assume, but only ends up getting countered himself when he takes the fight.
Well, fortunately enough for the smoke player, he's been able to live for a little while, but I don't think it's going to be for a little while longer. But Kino, he pulls it away from me. He'll take down KDS, but immediately gets refragged by Neskin. Team One, this is their time to start off into the actual bomb site. They've gotten server control. Laxing in the pulse spot downstairs. This is as old gets. He'll be able to help Vertical with this. Nitro Cell out, but it's shot. Team One, they're so damn clean. Alamau will be able to get the pick, and he'll do it again. It's all down to Laxing, but Levy kills him, and Bank goes to the Brazilians.
It's a rocky start to this series for Team One, but they bring it back on our first map. They cannot control the second map, but they absolutely thrash our third map here on Bank. 7-3 scoreline to shut it all down, and 2-1 overall on the series. Team One are victorious here today versus Oxygen.
What a game from Team One, bringing it back from the depths on Coastline. Oregon looking like they could have had an opportunity, but Oxygen pull it out. Finally, we get to Bank, where the LATAM team deals some very serious damage on their defensive side and makes that offense just a little too easy. Extremely well done from them, but you have to feel for Oxygen in the moment because they got dissected.
Absolutely the case, and every single player there on Team One having themselves a bit of a ball game over the course of that matchup. Everyone was either positive or even, with only a single player being even. So 4 out of 5 with at least a positive 1 KD coming out of that matchup as well. It was Team One domination here on our third and final map, especially those attacks so well coordinated, even down to just the positioning to make sure that players aren't getting traded. Excellent stuff from the members of Team One, and a beautiful recovery even looking back at map number 1. That'll do it for the two of us for right now. We're going to go to a quick break, and when we return, we'll have the command center to break this series down.